Hey there, history enthusiasts. Tonight, we're venturing into some of humanity's most secretive and dangerous pursuits. Worlds where a single mistake could cost you your life, your soul, or your sanity. Forget the romanticized adventures of treasure hunters and artistic masters you've seen in movies. We're talking about desperate men who risked horrific death to plunder sacred tombs, monks who slowly went blind creating illuminated manuscripts, artists whose pursuit of perfection drove them to madness, and record keepers whose knowledge was so powerful that revealing its secrets meant execution. This is the reality behind history's most coveted treasures and jealously guarded skills. We're about to experience what it actually meant to descend into pitch-black burial chambers where every breath could be your last, where disturbing a pharaoh's eternal rest invited curses that could destroy generations of your family. You'll witness medieval monks hunched over manuscripts for decades until their eyes failed completely, watch Japanese masters practice the same brushstroke 10,000 times until muscle memory replaced conscious thought, and understand why Inca Quipu keepers held the power of life and death through their ability to read knotted strings that recorded everything from tax obligations to military secrets. But that's just the beginning. Tonight, we'll journey through 4 worlds where knowledge was power and power was dangerous. From the oxygen-starved chambers where tomb robbers suffocated while clutching golden treasures, to the scriptorium where illuminators mixed pigments that slowly poisoned them while creating art that would outlast empires, to the gardens where ink painting required such perfect spiritual discipline that masters literally meditated themselves to death, to the administrative centers where a single miscounted knot could trigger rebellions that toppled kingdoms. So settle in, dim the lights, and prepare yourself for a journey into worlds where the pursuit of treasure, beauty, knowledge, and power required risking everything, while accepting that discovery might be the last thing you ever did. Because after tonight, you'll understand that every ancient treasure in a museum, every illuminated manuscript in a library, every masterpiece hanging in a gallery, and every historical record that survived to reach us represents not just human achievement, but human lives sacrificed in pursuit of things more valuable than survival itself. Welcome to 4 moments when the pursuit of the precious, whether gold, beauty, enlightenment, or information, demanded prices that would terrify modern people while creating legacies that outlasted the civilizations that created them. The year is 1143 BCE, and you crouch in the pre-dawn darkness outside the entrance to Cave E35, calculating whether the guards have truly fallen asleep or are merely pretending while waiting to catch tomb robbers like yourself in the act that will earn you impalement on wooden stakes in front of cheering crowds. The tomb you're preparing to violate contains the mummy and treasures of Amenhotep II, buried with enough gold to feed your family for generations. If you can survive the toxic gases, collapsing passages, deadly traps, and supernatural curses that protect Pharaoh's eternal rest. You might think you understand ancient tomb robbing from adventure movies, showing dashing archaeologists dodging boulders and solving puzzles, but the reality of violating royal burials was far more desperate and deadly than any Hollywood adventure could convey. This wasn't scholarly archaeology or romantic treasure hunting. This was systematic desecration performed by starving people who understood that discovery meant death by torture, while failure meant death by starvation, making tomb robbery a calculated gamble, where survival odds barely exceeded those of certain death. Welcome to the Valley of the Kings during the collapse of the New Kingdom, where economic desperation drives workers who built the tombs to become the thieves who rob them, where knowledge of secret passages becomes more valuable than gold itself, and where the line between protecting pharaohs and plundering them depends entirely on whether the government can still afford to pay your wages. You're about to discover that the greatest treasures of ancient Egypt were stolen not by foreign invaders, but by the very people entrusted with their protection, who turned their intimate knowledge of burial practices into expertise for systematic grave robbing. The economic collapse that drives tomb robbery in the Valley of the Kings reflects the systematic breakdown of centralized authority that once protected royal burials through well-funded guard units, regular patrols, and economic prosperity, that gave common people alternatives to the desperate crime of tomb violation. When the New Kingdom government can no longer afford to pay workers or maintain security, the very people who built and guarded the tombs become their greatest threat. The unemployment crisis that affects tomb workers creates a population with detailed knowledge of burial practices, tunnel layouts and treasure locations, while being desperate enough to risk horrific execution for the chance of obtaining wealth that could sustain their families through economic hardship. These workers understand tomb construction better than anyone while having personal knowledge of which burials contain the most valuable treasures. The inflation and food shortages that characterize late New Kingdom Egypt make tomb robbing economically attractive, despite its extreme risks, as the gold and precious objects buried with pharaohs retain their value, while government currency becomes worthless and basic necessities become unaffordable for ordinary workers. The governmental weakness that reduces security around royal tombs creates opportunities for systematic robbery while eliminating the swift justice that once deterred potential thieves through public executions and family punishment. When authorities lack resources for effective law enforcement, criminals become bolder while organized theft becomes more systematic. The corruption of officials who are supposed to protect tombs creates partnerships between thieves and authorities while establishing networks that enable large-scale robbery operations. Guards, priests and administrators who are no longer being paid regularly become willing partners in criminal enterprises that provide income while seemingly offering protection from prosecution. The social breakdown that accompanies economic collapse eliminates traditional respect for religious authority while making survival more important than spiritual considerations that once deterred tomb violation. When people are starving, the supernatural threats associated with disturbing Pharaoh's rest become less frightening than the immediate reality of economic desperation. Your morning preparation for tomb robbery begins hours before dawn, with rituals designed to protect against supernatural retaliation from disturbed pharaohs, while preparing tools and coordinating with accomplices who provide security, transportation and disposal services for stolen treasures. This preparation requires both practical planning and spiritual protection against divine wrath. The protective amulets that you wear during tomb robbery include religious objects designed to ward off curses, while providing supernatural protection against pharaohs whose eternal rest you're about to disturb. These amulets represent hedging bets between economic necessity and religious belief, while acknowledging that tomb violation carries both earthly and supernatural risks. The tool selection that enables effective tomb robbery includes prying bars, chisels, oil lamps, rope, and containers for stolen treasure, while being limited to implements that can be carried quietly and used effectively in cramped, dark spaces underground. These tools must be capable of breaking through sealed doorways and accessing burial chambers while remaining portable enough for rapid escape. The accomplice coordination that supports tomb robbery involves establishing teams with specialized roles, including lookouts, tunnel experts, treasure carriers, and disposal specialists, while creating networks that can function despite the need for absolute secrecy. These criminal partnerships require trust among people who understand that discovery means death for everyone involved. The timing calculations that determine when robbery attempts occur involve understanding guard schedules, festival cycles, and official activities, while identifying windows of opportunity when tomb areas are least protected. These timing considerations require intimate knowledge of security patterns, while accounting for seasonal and religious factors that affect surveillance. The escape route planning that enables survival after tomb robbery involves establishing alternative pathways for leaving crime scenes, while preparing hideouts and transportation systems that can move stolen treasures to buyers without detection. These escape plans must account for pursuit by authorities, while enabling disposal of evidence that could lead to prosecution. The entrance procedures that enable access to sealed tombs involve techniques for opening blocked doorways without creating obvious evidence of intrusion, while navigating tunnel systems that were designed to confuse and discourage unauthorized entry. These entry methods require detailed knowledge of tomb construction while needing to preserve secrecy for future robbery attempts. The sealed doorway techniques that tomb robbers use involve carefully removing stone blocks and rubble that protect burial chambers while being able to replace blocking materials to conceal evidence of intrusion. These techniques require construction knowledge while needing to work quickly in dangerous underground environments. The tunnel navigation that enables movement through tomb complexes requires understanding architectural layouts that were deliberately designed to confuse intruders while avoiding dead ends and traps that could trap robbers underground. This navigation expertise often comes from workers who participated in original tomb construction. The trap avoidance that prevents death during tomb robbery involves recognizing and circumventing mechanical devices designed to kill intruders, while understanding architectural features that serve protective functions. These traps include falling stones, collapsing passages, and hidden pits that can crush or trap unwary thieves. The air quality management that enables survival in sealed underground spaces requires understanding ventilation systems, while recognizing signs of toxic gas accumulation that can kill robbers through suffocation or poisoning. Many tomb robbers die from oxygen deprivation rather than traps or discovery by authorities. The lighting systems that enable work in complete darkness involve oil lamps and torches that provide illumination while creating fire hazards in enclosed spaces with limited ventilation. These lighting solutions must provide adequate visibility while not consuming oxygen needed for survival or creating smoke that reveals robbery activities. The treasure identification that maximizes robbery profits involves recognizing valuable objects while understanding which items can be easily transported and disposed of through criminal networks. This expertise requires knowledge of materials craftsmanship and market values while needing to work quickly under extreme stress. The mummy treatment that accompanies treasure theft involves handling preserved royal corpses while searching for jewelry and amulets placed on bodies during mummification. This desecration requires overcoming religious taboos while being systematic enough to locate valuable items concealed within wrappings. The unwrapping procedures that reveal hidden treasures involve carefully removing linen bandages that protect mummy preservation while searching for gold jewelry, precious stones, and magical amulets placed between layers of wrapping material. These procedures require patience while working in dangerous environments where discovery means death. The jewelry removal that extracts valuable items from mummies involves detaching rings, necklaces, bracelets, and ceremonial objects that were placed on pharaohs during burial preparations. This removal requires tools and techniques for accessing jewelry without damaging items that will be sold to collectors. The amulet collection that provides supernatural protection includes removing magical objects that were placed with mummies to ensure successful afterlife journeys, while understanding which items carry the greatest spiritual power and economic value. These amulets often prove more valuable than precious metals due to their religious significance. The body disposal that conceals evidence of mummy desecration involves repackaging disturbed corpses while attempting to minimize obvious signs of robbery that could alert authorities to tomb violation. This concealment work must be completed quickly, while maintaining enough respect to avoid additional supernatural retaliation. The chamber searching that locates hidden treasures involves systematic examination of burial spaces while understanding Egyptian burial practices that determine where valuable items are most likely to be concealed. This searching requires knowledge of religious customs while needing to work efficiently in dangerous underground conditions. The canopic jar examination that reveals valuable contents involves opening containers that hold preserved organs while searching for jewelry and amulets that were sometimes placed with mummified body parts. These containers often yield unexpected treasures while requiring careful handling to avoid spiritual contamination. The furniture investigation that uncovers concealed valuables involves examining ceremonial chairs, beds, chests, and other burial furniture, while understanding construction techniques that create hidden compartments. This investigation requires carpentry knowledge while needing to avoid obvious damage that reveals robbery activity. The wall decoration analysis that reveals hidden chambers involves understanding artistic and architectural clues that indicate secret spaces, while recognizing construction techniques that conceal additional burial areas. This analysis requires architectural expertise while needing to work quickly under dangerous conditions. The false floor detection that uncovers buried treasures involves recognizing construction techniques that create hidden storage areas while understanding acoustic and visual clues that indicate concealed spaces beneath apparent floor levels. These detection skills require construction experience while needing to avoid creating noise that alerts guards. The supernatural dangers that tomb robbers face include curses designed to protect Pharaoh's eternal rest, while spiritual contamination that can affect thieves' families across multiple generations. These supernatural threats represent genuine concerns for people whose religious beliefs make divine retaliation as real as physical dangers. The curse activation that results from tomb violation involves supernatural mechanisms that target thieves and their families while creating ongoing spiritual pollution that affects health, prosperity, and social relationships. These curses operate according to Egyptian religious beliefs while being considered as dangerous as physical threats by potential robbers. The spiritual contamination that affects tomb robbers involves religious pollution from contact with sacred spaces while creating ongoing supernatural problems that require ritual cleansing and protective measures. This contamination can spread to family members while affecting all aspects of life, including health and economic prosperity. The divine retaliation that punishes tomb violation involves intervention by gods who protect pharaohs, while ensuring that thieves face consequences that extend beyond earthly punishment to include spiritual destruction. This divine justice operates according to Egyptian religious principles, while being feared more than human law enforcement. The ancestral wrath that results from disturbing royal burials involves anger from deceased pharaohs whose eternal rest has been violated, while creating supernatural enemies that pursue thieves throughout their lives. These spiritual adversaries possess divine power, while being motivated by legitimate anger at sacrilegious behavior. The protective ritual failures that occur when tomb robbers inadequately prepare for spiritual dangers involve unsuccessful attempts to ward off supernatural retaliation, while demonstrating that criminal activity cannot be completely protected through religious observance. These failures result in spiritual consequences that affect both thieves and their families. The family curse extension that spreads supernatural retaliation beyond individual thieves involves divine justice that affects relatives across multiple generations, while ensuring that tomb violation has consequences that extend far beyond immediate participants. These extended curses create powerful deterrents while reflecting Egyptian beliefs about collective responsibility. The physical dangers that threaten tomb robbers include toxic gases, structural collapses, and environmental hazards that can kill thieves more efficiently than human law enforcement, while demonstrating that underground crime carries inherent risks beyond legal consequences. The oxygen depletion that occurs in sealed tomb chambers creates suffocation risks that can kill robbers within minutes, while being difficult to detect until it becomes fatal. This oxygen loss results from limited ventilation, while being aggravated by oil lamp consumption and carbon dioxide accumulation from human respiration. The toxic gas accumulation that develops in closed underground spaces includes carbon monoxide from oil lamps and hydrogen sulfide from decomposition, while creating poisoning risks that can cause death or permanent brain damage. These gases are colorless and often odorless, while being lethal in concentrations that develop rapidly in sealed environments. The structural collapse that threatens tomb robbers involves tunnel cave-ins and ceiling failures that can crush thieves while trapping survivors underground, where rescue becomes impossible. These collapses result from construction deterioration while being triggered by vibrations from robbery activities. The rockfall hazards that occur in underground spaces include falling stones and debris that can injure or kill tomb robbers while being triggered by structural movement or seismic activity. These hazards increase during robbery activities while being unpredictable enough to threaten even experienced thieves. The flash flood risks that affect Valley of the King's tombs involve seasonal water flow that can trap robbers underground, while filling chambers with water that prevents escape. These flooding events occur during rare rainfall, while being potentially fatal for anyone caught in underground passages. The hypothermia dangers that threaten tomb robbers involve temperature drops in underground environments, while being aggravated by wet conditions and limited clothing. These temperature hazards can impair judgment while reducing manual dexterity needed for safe navigation. The law enforcement dangers that threaten captured tomb robbers involve torture and execution methods designed to deter future crime, while extracting information about accomplices and stolen treasures. These punishments exceed normal criminal justice while reflecting the seriousness of crimes against divine authority. The interrogation techniques that authorities use against captured tomb robbers involve systematic torture designed to extract confessions while identifying accomplices and recovering stolen treasures. These interrogation methods include beating, burning, and other physical torments, while being designed to ensure complete revelation of criminal activities. The execution methods that punish tomb robbery include impalement, crucifixion, and other public death penalties, while being designed to deter future crime through spectacular suffering that demonstrates consequences of violating Pharaoh's rest. These executions involve prolonged agony while serving as public entertainment and moral instruction. The family punishment that extends legal consequences beyond individual thieves involves execution or enslavement of relatives, while ensuring that tomb robbery has collective consequences that deter criminal activity. These extended punishments reflect beliefs about collective responsibility while creating powerful deterrents to crime. The property confiscation that accompanies tomb robbery prosecution involves seizure of thieves' possessions while compensating for stolen treasures that cannot be recovered. This confiscation includes homes, livestock, and personal belongings, while reducing families to destitution that extends punishment beyond individual criminals. The social ostracism that affects families of tomb robbers involves community rejection and religious exclusion, while creating ongoing consequences that extend far beyond legal punishment. This social isolation makes normal life impossible, while serving as additional deterrent to potential criminals. The network infiltration that enables law enforcement success involves using informants and undercover agents while penetrating criminal organizations through corruption and intimidation. These infiltration efforts target criminal leadership while attempting to recover stolen treasures and prevent future robbery attempts. The treasure disposal networks that enable tomb robbers to profit from stolen items involve complex criminal organizations that transport, modify, and sell plundered objects while providing markets for goods that cannot be legally obtained. These networks require international connections while involving multiple criminal specialties. The fence operations that handle stolen tomb treasures involve specialists who can modify religious objects while removing identifying features that could link items to specific theft operations. These modification services require artistic skills while being essential for converting sacred objects into marketable commodities. The transportation systems that move stolen treasures away from crime scenes involve criminal networks with capabilities for long-distance shipping while avoiding law enforcement detection. These transportation services require corruption of officials while utilizing trade routes that enable international commerce. The buyer networks that purchase stolen Egyptian treasures involve wealthy collectors who value religious and artistic objects while being willing to overlook criminal origins of their acquisitions. These buyers provide markets that make tomb robbery profitable while creating incentives for continued criminal activity. The modification services that alter stolen religious objects involve craftsmen who can remove royal cartouches and religious symbols while adapting sacred items for private use. These services require artistic expertise while being essential for disposing of objects that would otherwise be too identifiable for sale. The money laundering operations that convert stolen treasures into usable wealth involve financial systems that can handle valuable objects while providing currency that robbers can use for normal commerce. These financial services require economic expertise while being essential for realizing profits from criminal activity. The international trade connections that enable disposal of Egyptian treasures involve commercial networks that reach foreign markets while utilizing diplomatic and trade relationships that facilitate movement of valuable objects across political boundaries. The evidence destruction that conceals tomb robbery operations involves techniques for eliminating physical traces of criminal activity while ensuring that investigations cannot link specific individuals to particular theft operations. This destruction work requires understanding of forensic evidence while being essential for long-term criminal success. The witness elimination that protects criminal networks involves intimidation or murder of potential informants while ensuring that testimony cannot link criminal activities to specific individuals. These elimination efforts require violent capabilities while being essential for maintaining criminal secrecy. The official corruption that enables systematic tomb robbery involves bribing guards, priests, and administrators while creating networks of complicit officials who provide protection from law enforcement. This corruption requires financial resources while being essential for large-scale criminal operations. The guard bribery that provides access to protected areas involves payments to security personnel while establishing relationships that enable regular criminal activity. These bribery relationships require ongoing financial commitment while providing essential access to target locations. The priestly cooperation that facilitates religious object theft involves corrupting religious officials while utilizing their knowledge of burial practices and treasure locations. This cooperation provides insider information while requiring shared profits from criminal activities. The administrative collaboration that enables systematic robbery involves corrupting government officials while utilizing their authority to protect criminal activities from investigation. This collaboration requires political connections while providing protection from law enforcement activities. The economic impact of systematic tomb robbery extends beyond individual criminal profits to affect Egyptian society through loss of cultural treasures, religious demoralization, and economic disruption that undermines social stability while demonstrating broader consequences of criminal activity. The cultural destruction that results from tomb robbery involves permanent loss of artistic and religious objects while eliminating cultural heritage that provided spiritual and national identity for Egyptian civilization. This destruction affects collective memory while reducing cultural resources available for future generations. The religious demoralization that accompanies widespread tomb violation involves loss of faith in divine protection while demonstrating that sacred spaces cannot be protected from criminal activity. This demoralization affects religious practice while undermining social institutions that depend on spiritual authority. The economic disruption that tomb robbery creates involves black market activities that compete with legitimate commerce, while demonstrating that criminal enterprise can be more profitable than legal economic activity. This disruption affects normal trade while encouraging additional criminal behavior. The social instability that results from systematic crime involves breakdown of law and order, while demonstrating that government authority cannot protect sacred institutions from criminal activity. This instability affects all aspects of society, while encouraging additional criminal behavior. The historical preservation that tomb robbery affects involves destruction of archaeological context, while eliminating scientific information that could enhance understanding of Egyptian civilization. This destruction affects scholarly knowledge, while reducing educational resources available for future study. The tourist revenue that tomb robbery eliminates involves loss of economic benefits from visitors who come to see intact burial sites, while demonstrating economic costs of criminal activity that extend beyond immediate theft losses. This revenue loss affects local communities while reducing incentives for historical preservation. Understanding ancient tomb robbery helps modern people appreciate both the desperate circumstances that drove people to risk everything for gold and precious objects, and the complex criminal networks that enabled systematic theft of cultural treasures, while demonstrating how economic collapse can transform protectors into predators. The legacy of ancient tomb robbery includes not just the lost treasures that disappeared into private collections, but also the demonstration of human adaptability under extreme circumstances, while revealing how intimate knowledge can be turned toward criminal purposes when legitimate opportunities disappear. The archaeological impact of ancient tomb robbery continues to affect modern understanding of Egyptian civilization, while demonstrating how criminal activity can eliminate scientific information that would enhance contemporary knowledge of ancient cultures and their achievements. The museum collections that contain objects of questionable provenance often include items that may have originated from ancient tomb robbery, while raising continuing questions about the ethics of acquiring cultural artifacts that may have criminal origins spanning thousands of years. The site preservation efforts that protect remaining intact tombs represent responses to ancient and modern robbery attempts, while demonstrating ongoing challenges of protecting cultural heritage from criminal activity that adapts to contemporary security measures and international markets for stolen artifacts. The lost techniques of Damascus steel. In the shadowy bazaars of medieval Damascus, where merchants haggled over precious spices and silken fabrics, there existed artisans who wielded secrets more valuable than gold itself. These master smiths possessed knowledge that could transform raw steel into blades of legendary sharpness and beauty, weapons so superior that they became the stuff of myth and legend throughout both East and West. The swords they forged bore distinctive watered patterns that rippled across their surfaces like frozen rivers, marks of a metallurgical mastery that combined scientific precision with artistic vision. Yet today, despite centuries of study and countless attempts at recreation, the true techniques of Damascus steel remain one of history's most tantalizing mysteries, a lost art that continues to challenge modern materials science while inspiring endless fascination with the achievements of medieval craftsmen. The origins of what Europeans came to call Damascus steel stretch back through the mists of antiquity to the ancient world of South Asia, where the legendary Wootz steel was first developed in the crucible furnaces of India and Sri Lanka. Long before Damascus became synonymous with superior steel, Indian metallurgists had mastered the art of creating a unique form of crucible steel that possessed extraordinary properties derived from its distinctive microstructure and chemical composition. The term Wootz itself derives from the Kannada word ukku, meaning steel, and archaeological evidence suggests that this remarkable material was being produced as early as 300 BCE in the southern regions of the Indian subcontinent. The knowledge of Wootz steel production represented centuries of accumulated wisdom, passed down through generations of skilled artisans who understood, through empirical observation, the complex relationships between ore selection, furnace temperature, timing, and the mysterious alchemy that transformed iron into steel of unparalleled quality. The journey of Wootz steel from its birthplace in South Asia to the workshops of Damascus represents one of history's most significant examples of technological transfer along the ancient trade routes that connected East and West. Indian steel ingots, prized for their exceptional quality and distinctive characteristics, travelled the maritime and overland trade networks that linked the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean world, carried by merchants who understood the immense value of these seemingly unremarkable lumps of metal. The steel arrived in Damascus and other Middle Eastern centres as raw material, ready to be transformed by local smiths who had developed their own sophisticated techniques for working this extraordinary substance into finished blades. The Syrian city of Damascus, strategically positioned at the crossroads of major trade routes and blessed with abundant water resources essential for metalworking, became the most famous centre for the forging of these legendary weapons, lending its name to steel that had travelled thousands of miles from its point of origin. The transformation of raw Wootz steel into finished Damascus blades required a complex combination of metallurgical knowledge, artistic skill, and what can only be described as intuitive understanding of the material's hidden properties. The distinctive watered patterns that characterize genuine Damascus steel were not merely decorative features applied to the surface of the blade, but rather emerged from the internal structure of the steel itself through a process that involved careful heating, folding, and manipulation of the metal during forging. Master Damascus smiths developed techniques for revealing and enhancing these natural patterns through processes that remain incompletely understood even today, creating blades that were simultaneously functional weapons of extraordinary cutting ability and works of art that displayed the smith's mastery over his materials. The forging process typically began with the careful heating of Wootz steel ingots in specialized furnaces that allowed precise temperature control, followed by gradual working of the metal through hammering, folding, and shaping techniques that required years of experience to master properly. The legendary sharpness and cutting ability of Damascus steel blades became the stuff of folklore throughout both the Islamic world and medieval Europe, with stories telling of swords that could slice through silk scarves floating in the air or cut through lesser blades without damage to their own edges. While some of these tales undoubtedly grew in the telling, archaeological evidence and historical accounts confirm that Damascus steel weapons possessed genuinely superior performance characteristics compared to contemporary European swords, advantages that stemmed from the unique microstructure created during the forging process. The combination of high carbon content, distinctive metallurgical phases, and the presence of carbide particles distributed throughout the steel matrix created blades that could maintain extremely sharp edges while retaining the flexibility necessary to withstand the stresses of combat. Modern metallurgical analysis has revealed that genuine Damascus steel contains microscopic structures, including cementite particles and carbon nanotube formations that contribute to its exceptional properties. Though the exact mechanisms by which medieval smiths achieved these characteristics remain subjects of ongoing research and debate. The distinctive watered patterns that gave Damascus steel its unmistakable appearance result from the complex interplay of chemical composition, thermal processing, and mechanical working that characterize the traditional forging methods. These patterns, which appear as flowing lines resembling wood grain, water currents, or textile patterns, emerge from the segregation of different metallurgical phases within the steel during the forging process, creating visible boundaries between regions of varying carbon content and crystal structure. The ability to control and enhance these patterns required extraordinary skill and experience, as smiths learned to manipulate heating temperatures, cooling rates, and working techniques to bring out specific designs while maintaining the blade's structural integrity and cutting performance. Different pattern types became associated with particular smiths or regions, with names such as Muhammad's Ladder, Rosewater, and Kirk Narduban, describing various flowing, geometric, and naturalistic designs that appeared on finished blades. The creation of these patterns involved not only technical skill, but also artistic sensibility, as master smiths developed personal styles and signature techniques that made their work recognizable to connoisseurs and collectors throughout the medieval world. The cultural significance of Damascus steel extended far beyond its practical applications as weaponry, becoming a symbol of craftsmanship, technological superiority, and cultural achievement that resonated throughout the Islamic Golden Age and beyond. Ownership of a genuine Damascus blade conferred prestige and status upon its bearer, marking them as someone of wealth, taste, and appreciation for the finest products of human skill and ingenuity. These weapons became treasured heirlooms passed down through generations, diplomatic gifts exchanged between rulers, and prized possessions of warriors, nobles, and collectors who understood their exceptional value. The reputation of Damascus steel spread throughout the known world, inspiring European attempts at imitation and contributing to the mystique surrounding Eastern metallurgy and craftsmanship. Literary works, historical chronicles, and travelers' accounts from across cultures document the legendary status of Damascus steel, creating a body of folklore and legend that has persisted long after the original techniques were lost. The blades became associated with famous historical figures, legendary heroes, and pivotal moments in history, cementing their place in the collective imagination of multiple civilizations. The gradual decline and eventual disappearance of authentic Damascus steel production represents one of history's most significant losses of technological knowledge, a tragedy that unfolded over several centuries as changing economic conditions, political upheavals, and evolving military requirements combined to undermine the conditions that had sustained this remarkable craft. The production of genuine Damascus steel was always dependent on access to high-quality wootz steel from South Asia, a supply chain that became increasingly unreliable as political changes in India and shifts in global trade patterns disrupted traditional commercial networks. European colonial expansion in South Asia beginning in the 16th century fundamentally altered the conditions under which wootz steel had been produced, as new administrative systems and economic priorities displaced traditional metalworking communities and their accumulated knowledge. Simultaneously, the rise of firearms and changing military tactics reduced demand for traditional edged weapons, making the expensive and time-consuming process of creating Damascus steel blades economically unviable for most practical purposes. The last authentic Damascus steel blades appear to have been produced sometime in the 18th century, marking the end of a tradition that had flourished for over a millennium and leaving behind only fragmentary knowledge of the techniques that had created these legendary weapons. The loss of this technology was not sudden but gradual, occurring as master smiths died without fully transmitting their knowledge to apprentices, as the supply of suitable raw materials became unreliable, and as demand for traditional weapons declined in favor of more modern military equipment. European travelers and scholars of the 18th and 19th centuries documented attempts to preserve or recreate the Damascus steel techniques, but by this time, much of the essential knowledge had already been lost, leaving only incomplete descriptions and fragmentary understanding of processes that had once been closely guarded trade secrets. The disappearance of Damascus steel technology became a powerful symbol of how valuable knowledge could be lost through the disruption of traditional cultural and economic systems, inspiring later efforts to preserve and document traditional crafts and techniques before they could vanish forever. The mystery surrounding Damascus steel has spawned countless attempts at recreation over the past several centuries, ranging from serious scientific investigations to amateur experiments by enthusiastic hobbyists seeking to unlock the secrets of this legendary material. Early European efforts to recreate Damascus steel were hampered by incomplete understanding of metallurgy and the complex chemical and physical processes involved in steel production, leading to numerous failed attempts that produced attractive pattern-welded blades but lacked the superior performance characteristics of authentic Damascus steel. The development of modern metallurgy and materials science in the 19th and 20th centuries provided new tools for analysing surviving Damascus steel artefacts and attempting to understand the mechanisms responsible for their exceptional properties, though even sophisticated modern analysis has failed to fully explain all aspects of the original production techniques. Contemporary efforts to recreate Damascus steel have employed advanced computational modelling, controlled atmosphere furnaces, and precise chemical analysis to develop formulations and processes that approximate some characteristics of the original material, though debate continues about whether any modern recreation truly captures all the qualities that made historical Damascus steel so remarkable. The scientific investigation of Damascus steel has revealed fascinating insights into the metallurgical principles underlying its exceptional properties, while simultaneously highlighting the sophistication of medieval craftsmanship and the challenges of recreating complex traditional technologies using modern methods. Analysis of surviving Damascus steel artifacts using electron microscopy, X-ray diffraction, and chemical spectroscopy has revealed microscopic structures including carbon nanotube formations, cementite particles, and distinctive grain patterns that contribute to the material's legendary sharpness and durability. These discoveries have demonstrated that medieval Damascus smiths, working through empirical observation and accumulated experience rather than scientific theory, somehow achieved metallurgical results that approach or exceed what can be accomplished using modern industrial processes. The presence of trace elements such as vanadium and tungsten in authentic Damascus steel suggests that the unique properties of Wootz steel may have depended partly on the specific mineral compositions of South Asian iron ores, adding another layer of complexity to attempts at recreation and highlighting the importance of raw material selection in traditional metalworking processes. The carbon nanotube formations discovered in authentic Damascus steel represent one of the most surprising findings of modern metallurgical analysis, revealing that medieval smiths had unknowingly created structures that would not be deliberately synthesized by scientists until the late 20th century. These microscopic carbon structures, which contribute significantly to the steel's exceptional strength and cutting ability, form naturally during the traditional forging process under specific conditions of temperature, carbon content, and mechanical working that medieval craftsmen learned to control through generations of accumulated experience. The discovery of these advanced nanostructures in ancient steel has profound implications for our understanding of traditional metallurgy and demonstrates that sophisticated material science can emerge from empirical observation and systematic experimentation, even without formal scientific theory. Modern attempts to recreate these nanostructures deliberately have met with only limited success, suggesting that the traditional Damascus steel forging process involved complex interactions between multiple variables that are still not fully understood, despite extensive scientific investigation. The economic and social systems that supported Damascus steel production provide important insights into the conditions necessary for maintaining complex traditional technologies and the factors that can lead to their loss when those conditions change. The creation of Damascus steel blades required not only individual skill and knowledge, but also extensive networks of suppliers, craftsmen, and customers that spanned vast geographical distances and multiple cultural boundaries. Raw Wootz steel from South Asia had to be transported thousands of miles to reach Damascus smiths, requiring reliable trade networks, standardized quality controls, and economic systems capable of supporting the high costs associated with such long-distance commerce. The forging process itself demanded access to specialized equipment, high-quality fuel, and skilled labor, while the finished products required sophisticated marketing networks to reach customers willing to pay premium prices for superior weapons. The breakdown of any element in this complex system could disrupt the entire production process, making Damascus steel particularly vulnerable to economic, political, and social changes that affected international trade or local manufacturing conditions. The training and apprenticeship systems that transmitted Damascus steel knowledge from master to student represent crucial elements in the preservation and development of traditional technologies, providing insights into how complex technical knowledge was maintained and improved across generations before the advent of formal scientific education. Master Damascus smiths typically began their careers as young apprentices working under experienced craftsmen for periods that could extend over many years, gradually learning the intricate details of metallurgy, forging techniques, and artistic design through direct observation, hands-on practice, and oral instruction. This apprenticeship system ensured not only the transmission of technical knowledge but also the preservation of quality standards, artistic traditions, and professional ethics that maintained the reputation of Damascus steel craftsmanship. The relationship between master and apprentice involved not just technical training, but also initiation into guild structures, trade secrets, and cultural traditions that defined the identity and social position of skilled metalworkers within medieval Islamic society. The gradual breakdown of these traditional training systems, caused by economic changes, political disruption, and evolving social structures, contributed significantly to the loss of Damascus steel technology and highlights the importance of institutional continuity in preserving complex traditional knowledge. The artistic and aesthetic dimensions of Damascus steel demonstrate the sophisticated integration of functional and decorative elements that characterized the finest examples of medieval Islamic craftsmanship, creating objects that served simultaneously as effective weapons and works of art. The watered patterns that distinguished authentic Damascus steel were not merely incidental byproducts of the forging process, but were deliberately enhanced and controlled by master smiths who understood how to manipulate the steel's microstructure to create specific visual effects. Different pattern types required different approaches to heating, working, and finishing, with some designs demanding particularly skillful manipulation of the steel during critical phases of the forging process. The creation of these patterns represented a form of artistic expression that combined technical mastery with aesthetic sensibility, allowing individual smiths to develop distinctive styles while working within established traditions of design and craftsmanship. The finished blades often featured additional decorative elements, including gold and silver inlay work, calligraphic inscriptions, and elaborate hilt and scabbard decorations that complemented the steel's natural patterns and enhanced the weapon's overall artistic impact. The influence of Damascus steel on European metallurgy and weaponsmithing provides important insights into processes of technological transfer and cultural exchange between different civilizations during the medieval period. European contact with Damascus steel blades through trade, warfare, and diplomatic exchange introduced Western craftsmen to superior metallurgical techniques and inspired numerous attempts to understand and replicate these technologies using locally available materials and methods. Medieval European sources document efforts to obtain and analyze Damascus steel weapons, study their construction techniques, and develop alternative methods for producing high-quality steel using European raw materials and forging traditions. These cross-cultural exchanges contributed to improvements in European metallurgy and laid important groundwork for later developments in steel production during the Renaissance and early modern periods. The reputation of Damascus steel also influenced European perceptions of Eastern technology and craftsmanship, contributing to broader cultural exchanges that enriched both Islamic and Western traditions of metalworking and artistic expression. The role of Damascus steel in military history extends beyond its technical superiority to encompass its psychological and symbolic significance in warfare, diplomacy, and cultural identity throughout the medieval period. Warriors armed with genuine Damascus steel weapons possessed not only superior equipment, but also enhanced confidence and prestige that could influence the outcome of individual combat encounters and broader military campaigns. The reputation of Damascus steel became associated with particular military units, rulers, and cultures, creating powerful symbols of martial prowess and technological achievement that resonated throughout the medieval world. European crusaders encountering Damascus steel weapons during their campaigns in the Holy Land developed deep respect for the superior quality of these arms, leading to increased demand for such weapons and contributing to their legendary status in Western literature and folklore. The diplomatic exchange of Damascus steel blades as gifts between rulers and dignitaries served important functions in international relations, demonstrating respect, establishing alliances, and showcasing the technological achievements of Islamic civilization to foreign courts and officials. The preservation and conservation of surviving Damascus steel artifacts present unique challenges that require specialized knowledge of metallurgy, archaeology, and conservation science to maintain these irreplaceable examples of medieval technology for future study and appreciation. Many Damascus steel blades have survived in museum collections, private holdings, and archaeological contexts, though their condition varies greatly depending on storage conditions, usage history, and conservation treatments they have received over the centuries. The analysis of these artifacts for research purposes must be balanced against the need to preserve them for future generations, requiring the development of non-destructive testing methods and sampling techniques that minimize damage while maximizing scientific information. Modern conservation techniques employ advanced materials and methods to stabilize corroding steel, prevent further deterioration, and restore damaged artifacts to stable condition for long-term preservation. The documentation and cataloguing of surviving Damascus steel specimens provides essential data for ongoing research while creating permanent records of these artifacts that can be accessed by researchers worldwide. The legacy of Damascus steel extends far beyond its historical significance to influence contemporary metallurgy, materials science, and manufacturing technologies that draw inspiration from medieval achievements while incorporating modern scientific understanding and advanced production techniques. Modern high-performance steels used in applications ranging from surgical instruments to aerospace components employ metallurgical principles that were first developed by Damascus steelsmiths, though implemented using contemporary methods and materials that were unavailable to medieval craftsmen. The study of Damascus steel microstructures has contributed to the development of new alloy compositions, heat treatment processes, and manufacturing techniques that produce materials with enhanced properties for specific applications. Research into the self-sharpening properties of Damascus steel has inspired the development of advanced cutting tools and blades that maintain their edges longer than conventional materials. The aesthetic appeal of Damascus steel patterns continues to influence contemporary craftsmen and artists who create modern pattern-welded steels and other decorative metalwork that pays homage to medieval traditions while serving contemporary functions and tastes. The philosophical and cultural implications of the Damascus steel mystery extend beyond technical considerations to encompass broader questions about the nature of knowledge, the relationship between tradition and innovation, and the responsibility of each generation to preserve and transmit valuable cultural heritage. The loss of Damascus steel technology serves as a powerful reminder of how easily accumulated knowledge can disappear when the social, economic, and cultural conditions that support traditional crafts are disrupted by historical change. This lesson has particular relevance in our contemporary world, where globalization, technological change, and cultural transformation continue to threaten traditional knowledge systems and craft traditions around the globe. The ongoing efforts to understand and recreate Damascus steel demonstrate both the potential for recovering lost knowledge through scientific investigation and the limitations of purely analytical approaches to understanding complex traditional technologies that emerge from centuries of accumulated experience and cultural context. The interdisciplinary nature of Damascus steel research illustrates the value of combining historical scholarship, archaeological investigation, materials science, and cultural studies to address complex questions that span multiple fields of knowledge and require diverse forms of expertise. Archaeological investigations provide essential information about historical production techniques, trade patterns, and cultural contexts, while materials science analysis reveals the underlying mechanisms responsible for Damascus steel's exceptional properties. Historical research contributes crucial insights into the social and economic factors that influence Damascus steel production and use, while cultural studies help illuminate the symbolic and artistic dimensions of these remarkable artifacts. The collaboration between different academic disciplines has been essential for advancing our understanding of Damascus steel and demonstrates the value of interdisciplinary approaches to studying complex historical technologies that resist explanation through any single analytical method or theoretical framework. The educational and pedagogical value of Damascus steel as a subject of study extends beyond its intrinsic historical and scientific interest to encompass its utility as a vehicle for teaching important concepts in metallurgy, history, archaeology, and cultural studies. The story of Damascus steel provides engaging case study material that can help students understand complex relationships between technology, culture, and society while developing appreciation for the achievements of medieval Islamic civilization and the sophistication of traditional craft knowledge. Laboratory exercises involving the analysis of steel samples, microscopy of metallurgical structures, and attempts at recreating historical forging techniques provide hands-on learning opportunities that complement theoretical instruction and help students develop practical skills in materials analysis and experimental methodology. The interdisciplinary nature of Damascus steel research also provides excellent opportunities for collaborative learning projects that bring together students from different academic backgrounds to work on common problems requiring diverse forms of expertise and perspective. The commercial and economic aspects of contemporary Damascus steel production reflect ongoing efforts to capitalize on the legendary reputation of this material while navigating the challenges of recreating complex traditional technologies using modern manufacturing methods and market conditions. Modern knife makers and bladesmiths have developed various techniques for creating steel with Damascus-like patterns and properties, though debates continue about whether any contemporary products truly deserve the name Damascus steel, or should more accurately be described as pattern-welded steels or Damascus-style alloys. The market for high-end knives and blades featuring Damascus patterns has grown substantially in recent decades, driven by collectors, craftsmen, and consumers willing to pay premium prices for products that evoke the legendary reputation of historical Damascus steel. The development of this market has supported renewed interest in traditional metalworking techniques, while creating economic incentives for continued research into historical production methods and their modern applications. The technological and scientific frontiers opened by Damascus steel research continue to generate new discoveries and applications that extend far beyond the original scope of historical metallurgy to encompass cutting-edge developments in nanotechnology, materials engineering, and advanced manufacturing processes. The discovery of carbon nanotube formations in historical Damascus steel has contributed to broader research into nanostructured materials and their potential applications in everything from electronic devices to structural composites. Advanced computational modeling of steel microstructures and phase transformations draws on insights gained from studying Damascus steel, while enabling the design of new materials with tailored properties for specific applications. The principles of controlled microstructure development that characterize Damascus steel production have influenced modern approaches to materials processing in industries ranging from automotive manufacturing to biomedical device production. The global cultural impact of Damascus steel extends beyond its historical origins to encompass its continuing influence on art, literature, popular culture, and collective imagination across diverse cultures and societies worldwide. The legendary reputation of Damascus steel has inspired countless works of fiction, poetry, and artistic expression that draw on its symbolic associations with excellence, mystery, and lost knowledge. Modern fantasy literature and gaming frequently feature Damascus steel weapons as powerful artifacts that embody the intersection of technology, magic, and cultural achievement. The aesthetic appeal of Damascus patterns has influenced decorative arts, architecture, and design in cultures far removed from the historical centers of Damascus steel production. The story of Damascus steel serves as a powerful metaphor for lost knowledge, cultural achievement, and the relationship between tradition and modernity that resonates across different cultural contexts and historical periods. The environmental and sustainability considerations associated with traditional Damascus steel production provide important perspectives on historical approaches to resource utilization and manufacturing that may offer insights for contemporary efforts to develop more sustainable industrial processes. Traditional Damascus steel production relied entirely on renewable energy sources, including charcoal and water power, operated using locally available raw materials with minimal long-distance transportation, and created products with extraordinary longevity that reduced the need for frequent replacement or repair. The small-scale, craft-based nature of traditional production meant that environmental impacts were relatively localized and manageable within traditional resource management systems. The integration of recycling and reuse practices into traditional metalworking, including the incorporation of scrap metal and the reforging of damaged weapons, demonstrates early applications of circular economy principles that anticipate contemporary concerns about waste reduction and resource efficiency. The psychological and cognitive aspects of Damascus steel craftsmanship illuminate important dimensions of traditional knowledge systems and the mental processes involved in mastering complex technical skills through apprenticeship and experiential learning. The creation of Damascus steel required not only technical knowledge, but also developed intuition about material behavior, temperature control, and timing that could only be acquired through extensive practical experience and careful observation. Mastersmiths developed sophisticated sensory skills that allowed them to judge temperature by color, assess steel quality by sound and feel, and control complex processes through subtle adjustments based on immediate feedback from the materials they were working. The cognitive frameworks used by traditional craftsmen to organize and apply their knowledge differed significantly from modern scientific approaches, relying more heavily on pattern recognition, analogical reasoning, and embodied knowledge that integrated intellectual understanding with physical skill and sensory awareness. The future prospects for Damascus steel research and recreation remain promising despite the challenges involved in fully understanding and reproducing this remarkable historical technology. Continued advances in analytical techniques, computational modeling, and materials science provide new tools for investigating the subtle mechanisms responsible for Damascus steel's exceptional properties while enabling more sophisticated attempts at recreation using modern methods and materials. International collaborations between researchers, museums, and traditional craftsmen are creating new opportunities for combining scientific analysis with traditional knowledge and cultural insights that may prove crucial for understanding aspects of Damascus steel production that resist purely analytical approaches. The growing interest in traditional crafts and sustainable manufacturing practices has created new audiences and applications for Damascus steel research, while generating support for continued investigation into this fascinating example of medieval technological achievement. The enduring mystery of Damascus steel thus represents far more than a historical curiosity or technical puzzle, embodying fundamental questions about the nature of knowledge, the relationship between tradition and innovation, and the challenges of preserving and transmitting valuable cultural heritage across generations and cultural boundaries. The legendary blades forged by medieval Damascus smiths continue to inspire wonder and admiration, not only for their exceptional technical properties, but also for what they represent about human creativity, ingenuity, and the pursuit of excellence through patient dedication to craft and tradition. As modern materials science continues to unlock new secrets hidden within these ancient artifacts, we gain not only technical insights that may inform contemporary applications, but also deeper appreciation for the remarkable achievements of medieval Islamic civilization and the sophisticated knowledge systems that supported traditional crafts and technologies. The story of Damascus steel reminds us that some of humanity's greatest achievements emerge not from sudden breakthroughs or revolutionary discoveries, but from the patient accumulation of knowledge and skill across generations of dedicated practitioners who understand that true mastery requires not only technical competence, but also artistic vision, cultural wisdom, and deep respect for the materials and traditions they work with. In our contemporary world of rapid technological change and global cultural transformation, the example of Damascus steel provides both inspiration for what human ingenuity can achieve and warning about how easily valuable knowledge can be lost when the conditions that support traditional wisdom are disrupted or neglected. The ongoing quest to understand and recreate these legendary blades thus serves not only scientific and historical purposes, but also philosophical and cultural functions that help us better understand our own relationship to technology, tradition, and the enduring human desire to create objects of lasting beauty and exceptional function. Medieval Manuscript Illumination. In the candlelit scriptorium of a Benedictine monastery around 1180 AD, you begin your day's work at dawn, knowing that by evening your eyes will burn with fatigue, your back will ache from hunching over parchment, and your fingers will be stained with pigments that may slowly poison you while you create artwork, so intricate that a single page requires months to complete. The manuscript you're illuminating will outlast empires, but the process of creating it will systematically destroy your vision, your health, and possibly your sanity through decades of obsessive attention to details measured in fractions of millimeters. You might think you understand medieval book production from a museum displays showing beautiful illuminated pages, but the reality of creating these manuscripts involved conditions that would violate every modern standard for worker safety, while demanding levels of artistic precision that pushed human capabilities to their absolute limits. This wasn't simply copying text or adding decorative pictures. This was systematic transformation of animal skins into spiritual art through processes that required superhuman patience and accepted permanent disability as the normal cost of creating beauty. Welcome to the world of medieval manuscript illumination, where monks and secular artists spent entire lifetimes bent over writing desks while mixing pigments from toxic minerals, where the pursuit of perfect beauty required sacrificing normal vision for microscopic precision, and where the creation of books was considered so sacred that artists accepted blindness and poisoning as acceptable prices for participating in divine creation through human craftsmanship. The monastic environment that produces illuminated manuscripts represents a total life commitment to spiritual and artistic service, while creating institutional structures that support decades-long artistic projects through communal resources and shared dedication to goals that transcend individual lifespans. The scriptorium organization that coordinates manuscript production involves complex hierarchies of scribes, illuminators, and supervisors, while managing projects that can require years to complete and involve multiple specialists working in precise coordination. This organization must balance artistic quality with production efficiency while maintaining religious standards that make manuscript creation a form of prayer. The daily schedule that governs illuminator activities follows monastic routines of prayer work and study, while maximizing use of natural light that provides essential illumination for detailed artwork. This schedule requires rising before dawn and working until darkness while integrating artistic labor with religious observance that provides spiritual meaning for otherwise tedious work. The community support that sustains illumination work includes communal meals, shared resources, and collective responsibility for maintaining artists whose specialized skills require protection from ordinary administrative and maintenance duties that could interfere with artistic production. The artistic training that creates skilled illuminators involves apprenticeship systems lasting decades while developing capabilities for precision work that exceeds normal human visual acuity and manual dexterity. This training requires extraordinary patience and dedication while building skills through repetitive practice that gradually develops superhuman precision. The material preparation that enables manuscript creation involves complex processes for transforming animal skins into parchment, while creating writing surfaces that can support detailed artwork and preserve text for centuries. This preparation requires specialized knowledge and significant labor investment before actual illumination work can begin. The parchment production that creates writing surfaces involves systematic processing of animal skins through cleaning, stretching, scraping, and chemical treatment, while producing materials with appropriate texture, color, and durability for artistic work. This production requires expertise in animal anatomy and chemistry while being essential for manuscript creation. The skin selection that determines parchment quality involves choosing appropriate animals and portions of hides while understanding how different anatomical features affect writing surface characteristics. The finest parchment comes from young animals with smooth, unblemished skin while requiring sacrifice of valuable livestock for artistic purposes. The cleaning processes that prepare skins for parchment production involve removing hair, flesh, and fat while using chemical treatments that alter skin structure to create appropriate writing surfaces. These processes require knowledge of traditional chemistry while involving exposure to caustic materials that can burn skin and damage respiratory systems. The stretching techniques that create smooth writing surfaces involve mounting skins on frames while applying tension that eliminates wrinkles and creates uniform thickness throughout parchment sheets. These techniques require physical strength and understanding of skin properties while being essential for producing materials suitable for detailed artwork. The scraping procedures that achieve proper parchment thickness involve using specialized tools to remove excess skin while creating uniform surfaces with appropriate texture for ink and pigment application. These procedures require manual skill and visual judgment while being time-consuming processes that affect parchment quality. The chemical treatments that stabilize parchment involve lime solutions and other substances that alter skin chemistry while creating durable writing surfaces that resist decay and insect damage. These treatments require knowledge of traditional chemistry while involving exposure to toxic materials that can affect respiratory and digestive health. The pigment preparation that enables colourful illumination involves creating paints from mineral, plant and animal sources, while understanding chemical properties that affect colour stability, coverage and application characteristics. This preparation requires expertise in natural chemistry while involving exposure to toxic materials that can cause serious health problems. The mineral pigments that provide brilliant colours include crushed gemstones, metallic compounds and other inorganic materials, while offering superior colour stability and intensity compared to organic alternatives. These pigments require specialised grinding and preparation techniques, while often involving toxic materials including lead mercury and arsenic compounds. The lapis lazuli processing that creates ultramarine blue involves importing expensive stone from Afghanistan, while grinding and purifying mineral to extract pure blue pigment that commands higher prices than gold. This processing requires specialized knowledge while producing pigments so valuable that its use indicates manuscript importance. The vermilion production that creates brilliant red pigment involves mercury and sulfur compounds while requiring chemical knowledge and safety precautions to prevent mercury poisoning during grinding and application processes. This pigment provides unmatched red color while posing serious health risks to artists who work with it regularly. The gold leaf preparation that enables metallic illumination involves beating gold into sheets thin enough to be transparent while creating materials that can be applied to parchment using adhesive techniques. This preparation requires specialized metalworking skills while producing materials that enhance manuscript beauty and value. The plant pigments that provide organic colors involve extracting dyes from flowers' roots, bark and other botanical sources while understanding seasonal collection and preparation techniques that affect color quality and stability. These pigments require botanical knowledge while often producing colors that fade over time. The animal pigments that supplement mineral and plant sources include materials derived from insects, mollusks, and other creatures, while requiring specialized collection and processing techniques. These pigments often provide unique colors while requiring knowledge of animal biology and seasonal collection patterns. The binding agents that hold pigments together involve egg whites, plant gums, and other organic materials, while creating paint consistency appropriate for detailed application. These binding agents require understanding of organic chemistry while affecting paint behavior during application and aging. The brush creation that enables precise application involves making specialized tools from animal hair while understanding how different hair types affect paint application and control. These brushes require craftsmanship while being essential tools for achieving artistic precision required for illumination work. The detail work that characterizes manuscript illumination requires visual precision that exceeds normal human capabilities while demanding manual control that enables creation of features measured in fractions of millimeters. This precision work causes permanent vision damage while being essential for creating artistic effects that distinguish illuminated manuscripts. The letter formation that creates decorative initials involves calligraphic skills that combine writing with artistic design while requiring perfect consistency in letter shapes and proportions. This letterwork requires years of practice while being fundamental to manuscript beauty and readability. The miniature painting that illustrates manuscript text involves creating detailed pictures within restricted spaces while maintaining artistic proportion and narrative clarity. These miniatures require artistic skills comparable to large-scale painting while being executed on surfaces smaller than modern postage stamps. The border decoration that frames manuscript pages involves creating intricate patterns and designs while maintaining consistency throughout entire manuscripts. This decorative work requires geometric precision while providing artistic unity that enhances overall manuscript appearance. The color application that brings designs to life involves layering pigments while understanding how different colors interact and age over time. This application requires understanding of color theory while needing precision that prevents contamination between different pigments. The gold application that adds metallic highlights involves specialized techniques for adhering metal leaf while creating reflective surfaces that enhance manuscript beauty under candlelight. This gold work requires understanding of adhesion chemistry while producing effects that cannot be achieved through other means. The detail finishing that completes illumination work involves adding final touches, including highlights, shadows, and refinements, while ensuring artistic consistency throughout manuscript pages. This finishing work requires absolute attention to detail while being essential for achieving artistic quality that justifies years of investment. The health consequences that affect illuminators include vision problems, respiratory illness, skin conditions, and nervous system damage from exposure to toxic materials, while demonstrating physical costs of creating artistic beauty through medieval techniques and materials. The vision deterioration that results from detailed work involves progressive loss of visual acuity, while requiring continued precision that becomes increasingly difficult as eyesight fails. This vision loss affects quality of life while often ending artistic careers when precision work becomes impossible. The nearsightedness that develops from close work involves changes in eye structure, while creating dependence on optimal lighting conditions for continued artistic productivity. This nearsightedness progresses throughout artistic careers, whilst affecting all aspects of daily life beyond manuscript work. The eye strain that accompanies detailed work involves fatigue, pain, and temporary vision problems, while requiring rest periods that reduce artistic productivity. This strain affects daily comfort while demonstrating immediate costs of precision artwork. The cataracts that develop from prolonged close work involve clouding of eye lenses, while gradually reducing vision quality needed for continued illumination work. These cataracts often end artistic careers while being considered normal consequences of precision artistic work. The color blindness that results from pigment exposure involves changes in color perception while affecting ability to mix and apply pigments accurately. This color vision loss affects artistic capability while demonstrating toxic effects of mineral pigments on human physiology. The respiratory problems that develop from pigment exposure include chronic cough, breathing difficulty, and lung damage, while resulting from inhalation of toxic dust during pigment grinding and application. These respiratory issues affect overall health while being aggravated by poor ventilation in medieval workspaces. The skin conditions that result from pigment contact include rashes, burns, and permanent discoloration while demonstrating toxic effects of mineral compounds on human skin. These skin problems affect comfort and appearance while being considered acceptable costs of artistic work. The nervous system damage that results from heavy metal exposure includes tremors, coordination problems, and cognitive impairment, while resulting from chronic contact with lead mercury and other toxic pigments. This neurological damage affects all aspects of life while being progressive and irreversible. The digestive problems that develop from accidental pigment ingestion include nausea, pain, and organ damage, while resulting from contamination during eating and drinking in workspaces where toxic materials are regularly handled. The mental stress that accompanies illumination work involves pressure for perfection while working on projects that cannot be corrected if mistakes occur. This stress affects psychological health while being aggravated by religious significance of manuscript creation and economic value of materials. The artistic achievements that result from illumination work include manuscripts that preserve knowledge and beauty across centuries, while demonstrating human capability for creating art that transcends individual lifespans and historical circumstances. The book preservation that illumination enables involves creating texts that survive wars, natural disasters, and social upheaval while maintaining knowledge that would otherwise be lost. This preservation function makes manuscript creation essential for cultural continuity, while justifying individual sacrifice for collective benefit. The artistic innovation that emerges from illumination work includes techniques, styles, and visual effects that influence subsequent artistic development, while demonstrating creative possibilities available through dedication to perfection. These innovations affect broader artistic culture, while emerging from individual artistic experimentation. The knowledge transmission that manuscripts facilitate involves preserving and distributing information across geographical and temporal boundaries, while enabling education and scholarship that advance human understanding. This transmission function makes manuscript creation intellectually valuable, while justifying investment in artistic production. The spiritual expression that illumination provides involves creating visual prayers and meditations while using artistic beauty to enhance religious experience. This spiritual function makes manuscript creation religiously valuable, while providing meaning that transcends material considerations. The economic value that illuminated manuscripts possess involves creating objects that command high prices while providing economic benefits that justify investment in artistic production. This economic function makes manuscript creation financially valuable while creating markets for artistic labour. The cultural prestige that manuscript ownership provides involves demonstrating sophistication and religious devotion while enhancing social status through possession of beautiful objects. This prestige function makes manuscript creation socially valuable while creating demand for artistic production. The technological innovation that manuscript production requires involves developing tools, techniques, and materials that advance artistic capabilities while creating knowledge that benefits broader technological development. These innovations affect multiple industries while emerging from artistic requirements. The international trade that manuscript production generates involves importing exotic materials while creating commercial networks that connect distant regions through artistic requirements. This trade affects economic development while demonstrating global reach of artistic production. The urban development that manuscript production supports involves creating employment for specialized craftsmen while generating economic activity that sustains communities focused on intellectual and artistic production. This development affects social organization while demonstrating economic impact of artistic industries. The decline of manuscript illumination that accompanies printing technology involves transformation of book production from individual artistry to mass manufacturing, while eliminating careers for specialized illuminators whose skills become economically obsolete. The printing press impact that reduces demand for hand-illuminated manuscripts involves technological change that makes book production faster and cheaper while eliminating markets for traditional artistic production. This technological change affects entire industries while demonstrating how innovation can eliminate traditional crafts. The cost competition that printing creates involves economic pressure that makes hand-produced manuscripts too expensive for most buyers, while creating advantages for mass-produced books that cannot match artistic quality but offer superior affordability and availability. The skill obsolescence that affects illuminators involves transformation of useful artistic capabilities into decorative luxuries while eliminating career paths for artists whose training becomes economically irrelevant. This obsolescence affects individual lives while demonstrating social costs of technological change. The cultural transformation that accompanies printing involves changes in reading habits, book ownership, and literacy that affect demand for artistic book production, while creating new forms of visual communication that serve different functions than traditional illumination. The preservation efforts that maintain illumination traditions involve institutional support for traditional techniques, while creating educational programs that transmit artistic knowledge to new generations. These efforts affect cultural continuity while attempting to preserve skills that have lost their economic relevance, but retain their cultural and artistic value. The modern appreciation that illuminated manuscripts receive involves scholarly study, museum exhibitions, and public education, while creating contemporary understanding of medieval artistic achievement. This appreciation affects cultural knowledge while providing historical perspective on artistic development and human creativity. The conservation challenges that illuminated manuscripts present involve protecting fragile materials from environmental damage while maintaining accessibility for scholarly research and public education. These challenges require specialized expertise while balancing preservation needs with educational functions. The digital reproduction that enables widespread access to illuminated manuscripts involves photography and scanning technologies that make artistic treasures available to global audiences while reducing handling damage to original materials. This reproduction technology affects educational access while preserving originals for future generations. The contemporary relevance that manuscript illumination maintains involves inspiring modern artists while demonstrating possibilities for detailed craftsmanship and patient artistic development that contrast with the rapid production methods characteristic of contemporary art and design. Understanding medieval manuscript illumination helps modern people appreciate both the extraordinary artistic achievements possible through patient dedication to perfection and the human costs of creating beauty through techniques that systematically damage the health and vision of their creators. The legacy of manuscript illumination includes not just the beautiful books that survive to reach modern museums, but also the demonstration of human capacity for accepting severe personal costs in pursuit of artistic and spiritual goals that transcend individual welfare while creating lasting cultural treasures. The artistic standards that illumination established continue to influence contemporary book design, typography, and illustration, while providing examples of integration between text and image that remains relevant for modern visual communication and artistic production. The dedication to perfection that characterizes manuscript illumination offers contemporary artists and craftspeople examples of commitment to quality that exceeds commercial requirements while demonstrating possibilities for artistic achievement through systematic attention to detail and willingness to sacrifice for beauty. The mysterious Mayan calendar system. In the dense rainforests of Mesoamerica, where towering pyramids pierce through emerald canopies and stone monuments bear witness to vanished civilizations, lies one of humanity's most sophisticated achievements in mathematical astronomy and temporal measurement. The Maya, whose classical civilization flourished from approximately 250 to 900 CE, developed a calendar system of such extraordinary complexity and precision that it continues to challenge modern understanding while inspiring both scientific admiration and popular fascination. This intricate temporal framework, which interweaved multiple cyclical counts with astronomical observations and mythological beliefs, represented far more than a simple method for tracking days and seasons. It embodied a comprehensive worldview that integrated mathematics, astronomy, religion, and philosophy into a unified system for understanding the cosmos and humanity's place within the eternal dance of celestial bodies and divine forces. Yet despite decades of intensive scholarly research and remarkable breakthroughs in deciphering Maya hieroglyphic writing, significant aspects of this calendar system remain enigmatic, continuing to yield new discoveries while challenging fundamental assumptions about indigenous American achievements in science and mathematics. The origins of Maya calendar systems can be traced back through millennia of Mesoamerican cultural development, emerging from earlier Olmec and Zapotec innovations while achieving unprecedented levels of sophistication through generations of dedicated observation, mathematical refinement, and cultural synthesis. Archaeological evidence suggests that the basic principles underlying Maya calendrical thinking were established during the pre-classic period, with early forms of cyclical counting and astronomical observation evident in sites such as La Venta and Monte Alban, long before the classic Maya achieved their remarkable synthesis of temporal measurement and cosmological understanding. The development of these systems required not only sophisticated mathematical concepts, including positional notation and the use of zero, but also institutional support for long-term astronomical observation, record-keeping, and the transmission of complex technical knowledge across generations of specialized priest astronomers. The Maya inherited and transformed earlier Mesoamerican traditions of timekeeping while developing unique innovations that reflected their particular geographical circumstances, cultural values, and cosmological beliefs, creating calendar systems that were simultaneously practical tools for agricultural and ceremonial planning and profound expressions of their understanding of cosmic order and divine will. The fundamental structure of Maya temporal measurement rested upon the ingenious integration of multiple concurrent cycles of different lengths, creating a complex but remarkably precise system that could track vast spans of time while maintaining accuracy for both practical and ceremonial purposes. The most basic unit of Maya time measurement was the day, or kain, which served as the foundation for increasingly complex cycles that nested within each other like an intricate clockwork mechanism designed to capture the multiple rhythms of celestial and terrestrial existence. 20 days comprised a winal, while 18 winals formed a ton of 360 days, approximating but deliberately not exactly matching the solar year in a choice that reflects the Maya preference for mathematical elegance over simple solar correlation. 20 tons comprised a katun of 7,200 days, while 20 katuns formed a baktun of 144,000 days, creating a system capable of expressing dates across millions of years with remarkable precision and consistency. This long count system, as modern scholars have termed it, provided the Maya with a linear framework for historical dating that complemented their various cyclical calendars and enabled them to place events within a cosmic chronology of breathtaking scope and ambition. The sacred calendar, known as the Tzolk'in, represented perhaps the most distinctive and mysterious aspect of Maya temporal measurement, combining a cycle of 20-day names with a sequence of 13 numbers to create a ritual calendar of 260 days that had no obvious astronomical basis, yet played a central role in Maya religious and social life. The 20-day signs, each associated with specific deities, animals, natural phenomena, and symbolic meanings, provided a rich vocabulary for expressing the qualitative characteristics of time itself, while the 13 numbers carried their own sacred significance and mathematical properties that influenced divination, ceremony, and personal destiny. This 260-day cycle has no clear astronomical correlate, leading scholars to propose various theories about its origin, including connections to human gestation periods, agricultural cycles, planetary synodic periods, or purely mathematical considerations related to the sacred properties of the numbers 13 and 20. The Tzolk'in operated independently of solar and lunar cycles, creating a unique temporal dimension that pervaded all aspects of Maya life and thought while providing the foundation for complex calendrical correlations and divinatory practices that guided personal decisions, political actions, and ceremonial observances throughout Maya society. The solar calendar, called the Hab, consisted of 18 months of 20 days each, plus a 5-day period known as Wayeb, creating a 365-day year that closely approximated the actual length of the solar year, while maintaining the mathematical elegance that characterized all Maya calendrical systems. Each of the 18 regular months had its own name, associated deities, and ceremonial significance, while the 20-day structure of each month reflected the fundamental importance of the vigesimal system in Maya mathematics and cosmology. The 5-day Wayeb period was considered particularly dangerous and unpropitious, a time when the normal order of the cosmos was temporarily suspended and malevolent forces could more easily influence human affairs, requiring special ceremonies and precautions to ensure safe passage into the new year. The Hayab served primarily practical purposes related to agricultural planning, seasonal festivals, and civil administration, though it also played important roles in religious ceremonies and the complex calendrical correlations that determined the timing of major public and private events throughout Maya society. The interaction between the Tzolk'in and Hab calendars created the calendar round, a cycle of 18,180 days, approximately 52 years, that represented one of the most sophisticated temporal frameworks developed by any ancient civilization, and provided the primary structure for Maya ceremonial and social life. Each day within the calendar round was uniquely specified by its position within both the sacred and solar calendars, creating a rich matrix of temporal significance that influenced everything from personal naming practices to political decision-making and religious observance. The completion of a calendar round marked major transitions in individual and community life, with 52-year periods serving as fundamental units for historical memory, generational change, and cosmic renewal that required elaborate ceremonies to ensure successful passage from one cycle to the next. The mathematical precision required to maintain accurate calendar. Round calculations over extended periods demonstrated the sophisticated understanding of arithmetic, astronomy, and timekeeping that characterized Maya intellectual achievement, while providing a unifying framework that integrated practical and sacred dimensions of temporal experience. The astronomical foundations of Maya calendar systems reveal extraordinary achievements in observational astronomy and mathematical modeling that enabled Maya astronomer priests to track celestial cycles with remarkable precision while developing predictive capabilities that served both practical and religious purposes. Maya astronomers maintained detailed records of solar and lunar movements, planetary synodic periods, and eclipse cycles that allowed them to develop correction factors and adjustment mechanisms for keeping their calendars synchronized with natural phenomena over extended periods. The famous Dresden Codex contains eclipse tables and Venus calendars that demonstrate Maya ability to predict astronomical events with accuracies that rival modern calculations, while archaeological evidence from sites such as Crackle and Zultan reveals sophisticated architectural alignments and painted astronomical tables that supported these observational and computational achievements. The Maya developed particular expertise in tracking the movements of Venus, which they associated with warfare and political authority, creating calendrical systems that could predict the planet's heliacal risings and other significant events with precision that enabled rulers to time military campaigns and ceremonial activities for maximum astrological advantage. The mathematical sophistication underlying Maya calendar systems included revolutionary innovations such as positional notation, the concept of zero, and vigesimal arithmetic that represented independent discoveries of fundamental mathematical principles and enabled calculations of extraordinary complexity and precision. The Maya system of numerical notation used dots for units, bars for fives, and a shell symbol for zero, arranged in vertical columns that represented successive powers of 20, and allowed for the expression of extremely large numbers with elegant simplicity and computational efficiency. This mathematical framework enabled Maya scribes and astronomers to perform complex calendrical calculations, astronomical predictions, and historical correlations that would have been impossible using simpler counting systems, while the concept of zero as both a placeholder and a number in its own right represented a crucial intellectual breakthrough that paralleled but apparently preceded similar developments in India and the Islamic world. The vigesimal base of Maya mathematics, while different from the decimal systems more familiar to modern audiences, provided internal consistency and mathematical elegance that facilitated complex calculations while reflecting the fundamental importance of the number 20 in Maya cosmology and ritual practice. The religious and cosmological dimensions of Maya calendar systems reveal the profound integration of temporal measurement with spiritual belief and mythological understanding that characterized Maya intellectual culture and provided meaning and purpose for their extraordinary achievements in astronomy and mathematics. Maya creation mythology described multiple previous worlds that had been destroyed and recreated in cosmic cycles, with the current world having begun on a date corresponding to August 11th through 14 BCE in the Gregorian calendar, a mythological anchor point that provided the zero date for long count calculations and connected historical time with sacred narrative. The calendar systems serve not merely as practical tools for measuring time, but as expressions of cosmic order and divine will that revealed the hidden patterns underlying existence and enabled humans to align their activities with celestial rhythms and supernatural forces. Different deities ruled over various temporal cycles, from individual days and months to longer periods such as Kayatans and Bactans, creating a divine hierarchy that paralleled and sanctified the mathematical structure of the calendar while providing religious significance for all temporal measurements and calculations. The role of calendar priests and astronomer scribes in Maya society illustrates the sophisticated educational and institutional systems required to maintain such complex temporal frameworks while ensuring accurate transmission of technical knowledge across generations and geographical regions. These specialist intellectuals underwent extensive training in mathematics, astronomy, writing, and religious doctrine that qualified them to perform the complex calculations required for calendar maintenance, while serving as interpreters of temporal significance for rulers and communities who depended on their expertise for making important decisions. The preservation and transmission of calendrical knowledge required not only individual scholarship, but also institutional support, including schools, libraries, and workshops, where technical texts could be copied, revised, and improved while maintaining the accuracy and consistency essential for effective calendrical operation. Archaeological evidence from sites such as Copan and Palenque reveals sophisticated scribal schools and astronomical installations that supported these intellectual activities while demonstrating the high social status and political influence accorded to individuals who mastered the complex arts of Maya timekeeping and astronomical prediction. The practical applications of Maya calendar systems extended throughout all aspects of social, economic, and political life, providing frameworks for agricultural planning, ceremonial scheduling, historical record keeping, and political legitimation that integrated temporal measurement with broader patterns of cultural organization and social control. Agricultural activities were carefully coordinated with calendrical cycles to ensure optimal timing for planting, harvesting, and other crucial activities, while the scheduling of markets, festivals, and public ceremonies followed calendrical prescriptions that maintained social cohesion and religious observance throughout Maya communities. Political rulers used calendrical knowledge to legitimize their authority and time their actions for maximum effectiveness, with coronations, military campaigns, and diplomatic initiatives often scheduled to coincide with astrologically favorable dates that enhanced their likelihood of success, while demonstrating the ruler's mastery of cosmic forces. The historical chronicles maintained by Maya scribes used sophisticated dating systems to record political events, genealogical information, and military achievements that served both practical administrative purposes and ideological functions related to dynastic legitimacy and cultural memory. The geographical distribution and regional variations of Maya calendar systems reveal both the underlying unity of Maya temporal concepts and the local adaptations and innovations that characterize different political centers and cultural regions throughout the Maya world. While the fundamental principles of Maya calendrical thinking were shared across the entire region, individual cities and kingdoms developed distinctive variations in ceremonial scheduling, astronomical emphasis, and calendrical correlation that reflected local traditions, political requirements, and environmental circumstances. The Classic period witnessed remarkable standardization of calendrical practices that facilitated communication and coordination across political boundaries while maintaining enough flexibility to accommodate regional preferences and local innovations that enriched the overall tradition. Archaeological evidence reveals differences in astronomical orientations, calendrical inscriptions, and temporal emphasis between sites such as Tikal, Palenque, Copan, and Caracal that illuminate both the shared intellectual heritage and the creative diversity that characterized Maya civilization at its height. The decline of classic Maya civilization in the 9th and 10th centuries CE created significant disruptions in the maintenance and transmission of calendrical knowledge, though important elements of the system survived in modified forms among post-classic and colonial period Maya communities that adapted ancient traditions to changing circumstances and external pressures. The abandonment of many classic period centers resulted in the loss of major libraries, scribal schools, and astronomical installations that had supported the most sophisticated aspects of Maya timekeeping, while political fragmentation and population movements disrupted the institutional continuity required for maintaining complex technical traditions. However, simplified versions of Maya calendars continued to function in highland Guatemala and other regions where indigenous communities preserved essential elements of the ancient system while adapting them to colonial requirements and Catholic ceremonial schedules. The survival of calendrical traditions in communities such as those around Lake Atitlan demonstrates both the resilience of Maya culture and the fundamental importance of temporal measurement in maintaining indigenous identity and spiritual practice, even under conditions of severe cultural pressure and political domination. The Spanish conquest and subsequent colonial administration created new challenges for Maya calendrical traditions as European systems of timekeeping and religious observance were imposed while indigenous practices were suppressed or forced underground to avoid persecution by religious and secular authorities. Colonial period documents reveal complex processes of cultural negotiation and adaptation as Maya communities sought to preserve essential elements of their temporal traditions while accommodating Spanish requirements for Catholic feast days and European administrative schedules. Some Maya scribes learned to write their languages using European alphabets and created new forms of calendrical texts that preserve traditional knowledge in modified formats that could be maintained without attracting unwanted attention from colonial authorities. The famous Popol Vuh and other colonial period Maya texts contain important calendrical information that bridges ancient and contemporary traditions while illustrating the creative strategies employed by indigenous intellectuals to preserve their cultural heritage under conditions of foreign domination and religious persecution. The rediscovery and decipherment of Maya calendar systems represents one of the most remarkable achievements of modern archaeology and epigraphy, involving generations of scholars who gradually unlock the secrets of hieroglyphic writing while developing increasingly sophisticated understanding of Maya mathematical and astronomical achievement. Early efforts by scholars such as Ernst Fürstermann and J. Eric S. Thompson established fundamental principles of Maya calendrical correlation while revealing the extraordinary precision and complexity of ancient temporal systems that challenged contemporary assumptions about indigenous American intellectual capabilities. The breakthrough work of Yuri Konorosov in demonstrating the phonetic aspects of Maya writing opened new possibilities for understanding calendrical texts while enabling more precise translations of temporal references and astronomical calculations that had previously been interpreted only in general terms. Contemporary scholars continue to make new discoveries about Maya calendar systems through combination of traditional epigraphic methods with advanced computational analysis, satellite archaeology, and collaborative research with contemporary Maya communities that maintain living traditions related to ancient calendrical practices. The computational challenges involved in correlating Maya dates with European calendar systems have generated extensive scholarly debate and methodological innovation while demonstrating the remarkable precision and internal consistency of ancient Maya temporal measurements. The problem of establishing accurate correlations between Maya long count dates and the Gregorian calendar requires complex calculations that account for the different mathematical bases, astronomical assumptions, and cultural priorities underlying these distinct temporal systems. The most widely accepted correlation, known as the GMT correlation, after its principal developers Goodman, Martinez, and Thompson, places the Maya creation date at August 11th, 3114 BCE, and has been validated through multiple lines of evidence including astronomical calculations, radiocarbon dating, and historical records from the contact period. However, alternative correlations continue to be proposed and debated, reflecting both the technical challenges involved in bridging different calendrical systems and the ongoing discovery of new archaeological and textual evidence that may require revisions to established chronological frameworks. The astronomical accuracy of Maya calendar systems has been confirmed through modern calculations that reveal remarkable precision in ancient observations and predictions of celestial events, demonstrating levels of accuracy that rival contemporary astronomical knowledge while highlighting the sophisticated observational and computational capabilities of Maya astronomer priests. Modern analysis of Maya eclipse tables reveals prediction accuracies within hours of actual events, while Venus tables show similar precision in tracking planetary movements across multiple synodic cycles that enabled reliable prediction of heliacal risings and other astronomically significant events. The architectural alignments discovered at Maya sites demonstrate sophisticated understanding of seasonal cycles, planetary movements, and other astronomical phenomena that were integrated with calendrical systems to create comprehensive frameworks for understanding cosmic patterns and their relationships to human affairs. These achievements required not only individual brilliance, but also institutional support for sustained observation and record keeping across multiple generations of astronomer priests who refined and improved upon the work of their predecessors while maintaining the accuracy and consistency essential for effective calendrical operation. The contemporary survival of Maya calendrical traditions in indigenous communities throughout Guatemala, Mexico, and Belize provides invaluable insights into ancient practices while demonstrating the continuing relevance and vitality of traditional temporal concepts in modern Maya life and spiritual practice. Many contemporary Maya communities maintain daykeepers and calendar specialists who preserve knowledge of the 260-day sacred calendar and its applications to ceremonial scheduling, agricultural planning, and personal guidance that connects modern practitioners with traditions reaching back over 2 millennia. These contemporary practices often combine ancient calendrical knowledge with elements derived from Catholic and other external traditions, creating syncretic systems that maintain essential spiritual and practical functions while adapting to modern circumstances and requirements. The collaborative research conducted between academic scholars and indigenous calendar keepers has enhanced understanding of ancient Maya temporal concepts, while supporting contemporary efforts to preserve and revitalize traditional knowledge that might otherwise be lost to modernization and cultural assimilation. The popular fascination with Maya calendar systems, particularly surrounding the supposed end date of December 21, 2012, illustrates both the enduring appeal of ancient Maya achievement and the challenges of communicating complex archaeological and astronomical knowledge to general audiences seeking simple answers to profound questions about time and cosmic meaning. The widespread misinterpretation of Maya calendrical concepts leading up to 2012 reflected fundamental misunderstandings about the cyclical nature of Maya temporal thinking and the role of calendar systems in Maya cosmology and daily life. Scholars worked extensively to correct these misconceptions while explaining that the completion of the 13th Baktun on December 21, 2012, represented not an end but a transition point comparable to the change from December 31st to January 1st in European calendars, marking the beginning of a new calendrical cycle rather than the termination of time itself. The 2012 phenomenon nevertheless served valuable educational purposes by drawing public attention to Maya achievements in astronomy and mathematics, while highlighting the importance of accurate scholarship in interpreting ancient cultures and their intellectual contributions to human knowledge. The technological applications of Maya calendrical knowledge have found unexpected relevance in contemporary discussions about sustainable agriculture, environmental management, and the integration of traditional ecological knowledge with modern scientific approaches to understanding natural cycles and their relationships to human activities. Maya calendrical systems incorporated sophisticated understanding of seasonal patterns, agricultural cycles, and environmental rhythms that enabled sustainable management of tropical ecosystems for over a millennium while supporting complex urban civilizations in challenging environmental conditions. Modern agricultural researchers and environmental scientists have studied Maya calendrical knowledge for insights into crop timing, resource management, and sustainable development practices that might inform contemporary efforts to address climate change and environmental degradation. The Maya understanding of multiple overlapping cycles and their complex interactions provides valuable perspectives on temporal thinking that may complement modern scientific approaches while offering alternative frameworks for understanding the relationships between human activities and natural systems. The mathematical legacy of Maya calendar systems extends far beyond their immediate cultural context to encompass fundamental contributions to human understanding of numerical systems, positional notation, and the mathematical concepts underlying complex temporal calculations. The Maya development of zero as both a placeholder and a number in its own right represents one of the most important mathematical discoveries in human history, achieved independently of similar developments in other civilizations, and providing a central foundation for sophisticated astronomical and calendrical calculations. The vigesimal mathematical system employed by the Maya, while different from contemporary decimal notation, demonstrates alternative approaches to numerical representation and calculation that offer insights into the diverse ways human societies have developed mathematical thinking and problem-solving strategies. Modern mathematicians and computer scientists have studied Maya numerical systems for insights into alternative computational approaches while appreciating the elegant simplicity and internal consistency that characterized Maya mathematical achievement. The architectural integration of calendrical knowledge with Maya building design and urban planning reveals sophisticated understanding of the relationships between temporal measurement, astronomical observation, and spatial organization that influence the design of individual structures and entire urban complexes throughout the Maya world. Many Maya buildings incorporate astronomical alignments that mark significant dates in various calendrical cycles, creating architecture that functioned simultaneously as practical space and temporal measurement device, while embodying cosmological principles and religious beliefs. The famous El Caracol Observatory at Chichen Itza and similar structures at other sites demonstrate the sophisticated engineering and astronomical knowledge required to create buildings that served both observational and ceremonial functions, while maintaining precise alignments with celestial events across multiple temporal cycles. The integration of calendrical concepts with architectural design created urban environments that embodied Maya temporal thinking, while serving practical functions related to ceremony, administration, and daily life throughout Maya communities. The influence of Maya calendar systems on contemporary discussions about time, consciousness, and alternative approaches to temporal understanding reflects growing interest in non-Western perspectives on the nature of time and its relationships to human experience and cosmic patterns. Maya concepts of cyclical time, qualitative temporal characteristics, and the integration of multiple concurrent cycles offer alternatives to linear temporal thinking that may provide valuable insights for addressing contemporary challenges related to sustainability, environmental management, and social organization. The Maya understanding of time as qualitatively differentiated rather than merely quantitative, provides perspectives on temporal experience that resonate with contemporary discussions about mindfulness, environmental consciousness, and the need for more holistic approaches to understanding the relationships between human activities and natural systems. These alternative temporal frameworks may offer valuable contributions to contemporary efforts to develop more sustainable and spiritually meaningful approaches to organizing human society and its relationships with the natural world. The preservation challenges facing Maya calendrical knowledge include both the protection of archaeological sites and artifacts containing calendrical information, and the support of contemporary indigenous communities that maintain living traditions related to ancient temporal practices. Many important Maya sites containing calendrical inscriptions and astronomical alignments face threats from development, looting, tourism pressure, and environmental degradation that could result in permanent loss of irreplaceable information about ancient Maya achievement in astronomy and mathematics. The documentation and preservation of contemporary Maya calendrical traditions requires sensitive collaboration with indigenous communities that balances academic research interests with community needs and cultural protocols, while ensuring that traditional knowledge is preserved for future generations. These preservation efforts must address both the material and intangible aspects of Maya calendrical heritage, while respecting indigenous rights and supporting community-controlled approaches to cultural preservation and revitalization. The interdisciplinary nature of Maya calendar research demonstrates the value of collaborative approaches that integrate archaeology, epigraphy, astronomy, mathematics, anthropology, and other fields to address complex questions about ancient intellectual achievement and its contemporary relevance. Archaeological investigations provide material evidence about calendrical practices and astronomical observations, while epigraphic studies unlock the textual sources that contain detailed calendrical information and computational methods. Astronomical analysis enables verification of ancient calculations and predictions, while providing insights into the observational capabilities and theoretical understanding achieved by Maya astronomer priests. Anthropological research with contemporary Maya communities contributes essential cultural context and traditional knowledge that enriches academic understanding, while supporting indigenous efforts to maintain and revitalize their calendrical heritage. This collaborative approach has been essential for achieving current understanding of Maya calendar systems, while pointing toward future research directions that may yield additional insights into this remarkable intellectual achievement. The educational applications of Maya calendar systems provide engaging opportunities for teaching mathematics, astronomy, history, and cultural studies, while illustrating important principles about intellectual achievement, cultural diversity, and the relationships between science and society in both ancient and contemporary contexts. Mathematics educators have developed curricula based on Maya numerical systems and calendrical calculations that help students understand alternative approaches to mathematical thinking, while appreciating the sophisticated computational capabilities achieved by ancient civilizations. Astronomy courses often use Maya astronomical achievements to illustrate fundamental principles of observational astronomy and the development of calendrical systems, while demonstrating how different cultures have approached the challenge of understanding and predicting celestial events. History and cultural studies programs use Maya calendar systems to explore themes related to intellectual achievement, cultural diffusion, and the preservation of traditional knowledge, while challenging Eurocentric assumptions about the development of science and mathematics. The philosophical implications of Maya calendar systems extend to fundamental questions about the nature of time, the relationships between human consciousness and cosmic patterns, and the role of temporal measurement in organizing individual and social experience. Maya temporal concepts challenge Western assumptions about linear time, while offering alternative frameworks for understanding the relationships between past, present, and future that may provide valuable insights for contemporary discussions about sustainability, environmental consciousness, and social organization. The Maya integration of practical and sacred dimensions of temporal experience provides models for holistic approaches to timekeeping that balance efficiency with meaning while maintaining connections between human activities and larger cosmic patterns. These philosophical perspectives may contribute to contemporary efforts to develop more meaningful and sustainable approaches to organizing human society while maintaining awareness of our place within larger natural and cosmic systems. The continuing mysteries surrounding Maya calendar systems include ongoing questions about specific astronomical calculations, the origins of particular calendrical cycles, and the precise methods used to maintain accuracy over extended periods without mechanical timepieces or electronic computation. Recent archaeological discoveries continue to yield new calendrical texts and astronomical installations that provide additional data, while sometimes challenging established interpretations and requiring revisions to current understanding of Maya temporal concepts and practices. The relationship between Maya calendar systems and those of other Mesoamerican civilizations remains an active area of research that may illuminate broader patterns of intellectual development and cultural exchange throughout the region, while highlighting the particular innovations and achievements that distinguished Maya temporal science. Contemporary research into the cognitive and cultural dimensions of temporal thinking may provide new insights into how Maya calendar systems functioned within their broader cultural context, while offering perspectives on the relationships between measurement systems and worldview that have relevance for understanding temporal concepts in other cultures and historical periods. The legacy of Maya calendar systems thus represents one of humanity's greatest intellectual achievements, a testament to the sophisticated mathematical, astronomical, and cultural capabilities of ancient American civilizations that continues to inspire admiration while challenging contemporary understanding of indigenous knowledge systems and their contributions to human scientific development. The extraordinary precision and complexity of Maya temporal measurement reflects not only technical brilliance, but also profound cultural commitment to understanding cosmic patterns and their relationships to human experience that created frameworks for organizing social life while maintaining spiritual connections to larger universal rhythms. As modern research continues to unlock new secrets of Maya calendrical achievement while supporting contemporary efforts to preserve and revitalize indigenous temporal traditions, we gain not only scientific insights, but also valuable perspectives on alternative approaches to understanding time and its role in organizing meaningful human existence. The mysterious Maya calendar system reminds us that human intellectual achievement takes many forms and emerges from diverse cultural contexts that each contribute unique insights to our collective understanding of the cosmos and our place within it. The Maya achievement in developing sophisticated temporal frameworks that integrated practical utility with spiritual meaning provides inspiration for contemporary efforts to create more holistic and sustainable approaches to organizing human society while maintaining awareness of our connections to natural and cosmic cycles that transcend immediate practical concerns. In our contemporary world of digital timekeeping and global standardization, the Maya example offers valuable reminders about the importance of cultural diversity in approaches to fundamental human challenges, while illustrating the remarkable achievements possible when intellectual curiosity combines with cultural commitment to understanding the deeper patterns underlying existence and experience. Japanese ink painting masters for In the mountain monastery of Daitoku-ji, during the Muromachi period around 1450 AD, you kneel before a blank sheet of rice paper knowing that the brushstroke you're about to make must be absolutely perfect on the first attempt, because ink painting allows no corrections, no hesitation, and no second chances. The master who watches your every movement has spent 40 years achieving the spiritual enlightenment necessary to paint a single perfect bamboo leaf, and he expects you to reach that same level of transcendence through a process that will consume your entire life while quite possibly driving you insane in pursuit of impossible perfection. You might think you understand Japanese ink painting from peaceful images of serene monks creating simple brushwork, but the reality of achieving mastery in Sumi-e involves psychological conditioning so intense that it resembled military training more than artistic education. This wasn't simply learning to paint with ink. This was systematic reconstruction of human consciousness through artistic discipline that eliminated ego emotion and individual will while replacing them with perfect spiritual emptiness that could channel universal truth through brushstrokes. Welcome to the world of Japanese ink painting mastery, where artistic achievement required abandoning everything that made you human while developing capabilities that transcended normal consciousness, where the pursuit of perfect brushwork meant accepting that failure would result in decades of wasted effort, and where the ultimate goal was not creating beautiful art, but achieving enlightenment through the elimination of the self that wanted to create art. The Zen philosophical framework that governs ink painting mastery establishes artistic achievement as inseparable from spiritual enlightenment, while requiring systematic elimination of ego consciousness that interferes with direct perception of ultimate reality. This philosophical foundation makes artistic training identical to religious practice, while demanding psychological transformation that most people cannot survive intact. The emptiness doctrine that underlies Zen painting involves achieving mental states where individual consciousness disappears while enabling direct expression of universal truth through artistic action. This emptiness is not mere absence but active void that contains infinite creative potential while requiring elimination of personal will and emotional attachment. The mindfulness practice that develops painting capability involves moment-to-moment awareness that eliminates past and future while creating perfect presence in immediate artistic action. This mindfulness requires mental discipline that exceeds normal meditation while being essential for achieving spontaneous perfection in brushwork. The non-attachment philosophy that enables spiritual artistic achievement involves eliminating desire for success, fear of failure, and concern with results while focusing entirely on process that unfolds according to universal principles rather than personal intention. This non-attachment eliminates motivation that normally drives human activity while replacing it with spiritual momentum. The direct perception that enables authentic artistic expression involves seeing reality without mental filtering while eliminating conceptual thinking that interferes with immediate response to visual truth. This perception requires abandoning intellectual analysis while developing intuitive understanding that operates faster than conscious thought. The spontaneous action that characterizes enlightened painting involves brushwork that emerges without planning, while expressing spiritual insights that cannot be achieved through deliberate technique. This spontaneity requires years of preparation while being impossible to achieve through conscious effort or willpower. The master-student relationship that transmits ink painting knowledge involves psychological bonds that reshape consciousness, while providing models for spiritual development that cannot be learned through instruction alone. This relationship often becomes more important than family connections, while lasting for entire lifetimes of artistic and spiritual development. The training methodology that creates ink painting masters involves systematic practices designed to eliminate ordinary consciousness, while developing capabilities that enable direct expression of enlightened perception through artistic action. This training resembles military conditioning more than artistic education, while producing psychological changes that affect all aspects of life. The copying exercises that begin artistic training involve reproducing masterworks with perfect accuracy, while developing manual control and visual precision necessary for advanced artistic work. These copying practices continue for years while building technical foundations that support later creative expression. The brushstroke repetition that develops muscle memory involves practicing individual movements thousands of times while achieving automation that eliminates conscious control during artistic creation. This repetition creates physical capabilities while building neural pathways that enable spontaneous artistic expression. The breathing coordination that synchronizes body and mind involves aligning brushwork with respiratory rhythms, while creating unified awareness that eliminates separation between artist and artistic action. This coordination requires understanding of internal energy flow while being essential for achieving meditative artistic states. The posture training that enables sustained artistic work involves developing physical stability and mental alertness while maintaining meditation positions for hours during artistic practice. This posture work affects spinal alignment and breathing while being essential for advanced artistic concentration. The hand position instruction that enables precise brush control involves learning grip techniques and finger movements while developing manual capabilities that exceed normal human dexterity. This hand training requires understanding of anatomy while enabling artistic precision that seems superhuman to untrained observers. The tool mastery that enables effective artistic expression involves understanding brush characteristics, ink properties and paper behavior, while developing technical expertise that supports spiritual artistic goals. This tool knowledge requires years of experimentation while being essential for achieving intended artistic effects. The mental conditioning that eliminates artistic ego involves practices designed to remove personal ambition, competitive motivation, and attachment to results, while replacing individual will with universal consciousness. This conditioning often involves psychological breakdown and reconstruction, while being necessary for achieving enlightened artistic expression. The meditation integration that combines artistic practice with spiritual development involves using painting as meditation technique while achieving enlightenment through artistic discipline. This integration makes artistic achievement inseparable from spiritual advancement while requiring total life commitment to unified practice. The failure acceptance that enables continued practice involves developing psychological resilience that can withstand years of inadequate artistic achievement while maintaining motivation for continued effort despite apparent lack of progress. This acceptance requires spiritual maturity while being essential for surviving artistic training. The perfectionism elimination that enables spontaneous creation involves abandoning concern with artistic quality while focusing on spiritual authenticity that may produce imperfect but enlightened artwork. This elimination requires reversing normal artistic motivation while enabling breakthrough to advanced practice. The criticism immunity that protects developing artists involves achieving psychological states that cannot be disturbed by negative evaluation while maintaining receptivity to useful instruction. This immunity requires spiritual confidence while enabling continued practice despite social pressures and artistic failures. The social isolation that accompanies intensive training involves withdrawing from normal human relationships while dedicating entire existence to artistic and spiritual development. This isolation affects family relationships while being considered necessary for achieving single-pointed concentration required for mastery. The physical conditioning that supports artistic practice involves developing stamina, flexibility, and health necessary for sustained creative work while maintaining physical capabilities that can support decades of intensive training. This conditioning affects entire lifestyle while being essential for surviving demanding artistic practice. The dietary discipline that supports training involves eating practices that enhance mental clarity while avoiding foods that create physical or emotional disturbances that interfere with artistic concentration. This dietary practice affects all meals while being considered essential for maintaining spiritual artistic states. The sleep regulation that optimizes training effectiveness involves maintaining sleep schedules that support artistic practice while achieving rest quality that enhances rather than interferes with spiritual development. This regulation affects daily rhythms while being essential for sustaining intensive practice. The exercise routines that maintain physical health involve activities that enhance rather than compete with artistic practice while maintaining body condition necessary for sustained creative work. These exercises affect physical capabilities while supporting rather than substituting for artistic training. The health monitoring that prevents training-related illness involves understanding warning signs of physical and mental strain while managing training intensity to prevent breakdown that could end artistic careers. This monitoring requires self-awareness while being essential for surviving intensive practice. The environmental control that optimizes training conditions involves creating physical spaces that support rather than interfere with artistic and spiritual practice, while eliminating distractions that could prevent concentrated work. This control affects living arrangements while being essential for advanced practice. The artistic philosophy that guides advanced practice involves understanding principles that govern creative expression while developing aesthetic sensibilities that enable discrimination between authentic and inauthentic artistic achievement. This philosophy affects artistic judgment while providing framework for continued development. The simplicity principle that governs aesthetic judgment involves recognizing that the most powerful artistic expression eliminates unnecessary elements while achieving maximum impact through minimal means. This principle requires sophisticated aesthetic understanding while guiding all artistic decisions. The naturalness ideal that defines authentic expression involves creating artwork that appears effortless while expressing universal rather than personal truth. This naturalness requires elimination of artificial technique while achieving expression that transcends individual artistic capability. The spontaneity requirement that enables enlightened creation involves producing artwork without premeditation while expressing spiritual insights that emerge during creative process. This spontaneity requires extensive preparation while being impossible to achieve through planning or conscious effort. The emotional restraint that characterizes mature practice involves eliminating personal emotional expression while achieving artistic communication that transcends individual feeling to express universal emotional truth. This restraint requires spiritual development while enabling artwork that affects viewers more powerfully than personal expression. The technical invisibility that marks advanced achievement involves mastering artistic technique so completely that technical concerns disappear while enabling pure expression of spiritual insight through artistic action. This invisibility requires technical perfection while transcending technique to achieve spiritual expression. The tradition integration that enables authentic innovation involves understanding classical principles so thoroughly that creative departure from tradition expresses rather than violates fundamental artistic truth. This integration requires scholarly knowledge while enabling artistic advancement that honors rather than abandons traditional wisdom. The subject matter mastery that enables profound artistic expression involves understanding natural forms so deeply that artistic representation captures spiritual essence rather than mere physical appearance. This mastery requires observation skills while enabling artistic expression that reveals rather than just depicts reality. The seasonal awareness that enhances artistic authenticity involves understanding natural rhythms while creating artwork that expresses seasonal spiritual qualities rather than just visual characteristics. This awareness requires nature study while enabling artistic expression that captures universal rather than personal seasonal experience. The animal spirit capture that enables profound nature painting involves understanding animal consciousness while expressing spiritual qualities that make artistic representation more authentic than photographic accuracy. This capture requires empathetic understanding while enabling artistic expression that reveals animal essence. The landscape soul expression that transcends mere scenic representation involves understanding spiritual qualities of natural locations while creating artwork that expresses place spirit rather than visual appearance. This expression requires spiritual sensitivity while enabling artistic representation that captures location essence. The flower essence revelation that enables profound botanical painting involves understanding plant spiritual qualities while expressing life force that makes artistic representation spiritually authentic rather than botanically accurate. This revelation requires spiritual perception while enabling artwork that captures rather than depicts natural beauty. The decline of traditional training that accompanies social modernization involves breakdown of master-student relationships while eliminating institutional support for intensive artistic and spiritual practice that requires total life commitment. The social pressure that affects traditional practice involves expectations for practical career achievement while creating conflicts between artistic spiritual development and family economic responsibilities. This pressure affects training commitment while making traditional intensive practice increasingly difficult to sustain. The economic necessity that interferes with traditional training involves need for income generation while preventing full-time commitment to artistic and spiritual development that requires years of practice without economic productivity. This necessity affects training possibilities while forcing adaptation of traditional methods. The cultural change that reduces appreciation for traditional achievement involves shifts in aesthetic values while eliminating social recognition and economic support for traditional artistic accomplishment. This change affects motivation while reducing incentives for traditional intensive practice. The institutional breakdown that eliminates traditional training involves closure of monasteries and traditional schools while ending formal transmission of artistic and spiritual knowledge that requires institutional support for effectiveness. The master availability that affects training quality involves shortage of qualified teachers while reducing access to authentic instruction that enables genuine artistic and spiritual development. This shortage affects training possibilities while creating opportunities for inauthentic instruction that lacks traditional depth. The modern preservation efforts that maintain traditional knowledge involve creating educational programs and cultural institutions while adapting traditional training methods to contemporary circumstances. These efforts affect cultural continuity while attempting to preserve authentic tradition despite changed social conditions. Understanding Japanese ink painting mastery helps modern people appreciate both the extraordinary artistic achievements possible through total dedication to spiritual artistic practice and the psychological costs of training that required abandoning normal human consciousness, while accepting that artistic achievement might require entire lifetimes of preparation. The legacy of traditional ink painting includes not just artistic masterworks that survive in museums, but also demonstration of human potential for transcending ordinary consciousness while achieving creative capabilities that seem supernatural to untrained observers. The spiritual technology that traditional training represents provides contemporary artists and spiritual practitioners with examples of systematic consciousness development while demonstrating possibilities for artistic achievement that exceeds normal human capability through disciplined spiritual practice. The aesthetic principles that govern traditional ink painting continue to influence contemporary art and design while providing frameworks for understanding relationships between spiritual development and creative expression that remain relevant for modern artistic practice. In the administrative center of Cusco, around 1520 AD, you sit surrounded by thousands of knotted string devices called quipu, each one containing information so complex and politically sensitive that a single misinterpretation could trigger rebellions, famines, or military disasters that destroy entire provinces. As a quipu kamayok, a keeper of the knots, you possess knowledge that makes you simultaneously indispensable and extraordinarily dangerous to the imperial administration, because your ability to read these textile records gives you access to state secrets that could topple the empire if revealed to the wrong people. You might think you understand Inca record keeping from museum displays, showing colourful knotted strings arranged in simple patterns, but the reality of being a quipu master involved memorizing information systems so complex that modern computers struggle to decode them, while bearing responsibility for data accuracy that could determine whether distant provinces received adequate food supplies or starved to death during crop failures. Welcome to the world of Inca information management, where coloured knots and twisted fibres contained more detailed statistical information than most modern government databases, where the ability to read textile records was considered so powerful that quipu masters were closely monitored by imperial agents, and where a single computational error could result in execution for treason, while correct interpretation of string patterns could save thousands of lives through accurate resource allocation. The information complexity that quipu systems contain exceeds anything achieved by other pre-Columbian civilizations, while encoding statistical, historical, administrative, and possibly narrative data in textile formats that combine color texture, knot types, and spatial relationships to create multidimensional information storage systems that challenge modern understanding of data representation. The statistical capabilities that quipu enable include population censuses, agricultural production records, tax collection data, and resource allocation calculations, while providing computational accuracy that enables efficient administration of an empire spanning thousands of miles and millions of people. This statistical sophistication requires mathematical understanding, while enabling governmental functions that exceed those of most contemporary civilizations. The hierarchical organization that quipu structure reflects involves primary chords that represent major administrative categories, while subsidiary strings provide detailed breakdowns that enable precise tracking of specific information within broader organizational frameworks. This hierarchical system enables complex data organization while requiring systematic understanding of administrative relationships. The temporal recording that quipu enable involves encoding historical sequences and chronological relationships while preserving information about past events that inform current decision-making. This temporal capability enables historical record keeping while providing institutional memory that supports governmental continuity across leadership changes. The geographical encoding that quipu contain involves representing spatial relationships and territorial administration, while enabling coordination between distant provinces through shared information systems. This geographical capability enables imperial coordination while requiring standardized encoding systems that function across diverse regional conditions. The mathematical precision that Quipu achieve involves decimal notation systems and complex calculations while enabling statistical analysis that supports administrative decision-making. This mathematical sophistication requires numerical understanding while enabling quantitative analysis that exceeds capabilities of most contemporary record-keeping systems. The color coding that organizes Quipu information involves systematic use of fiber colors to represent different categories of data, while creating visual organization that enables rapid information access. This color system requires standardized meanings while enabling efficient data retrieval that supports administrative functions. The training requirements that create Quipu masters involve decades of education in mathematical, administrative, and cultural knowledge, while developing memory capabilities that enable accurate interpretation of complex information systems. This training creates specialized experts while requiring intellectual capabilities that exceed normal human memory and analytical skills. The apprenticeship systems that transmit Quipu knowledge involve master-student relationships lasting many years, while providing systematic instruction in encoding and interpretation techniques that cannot be learned through casual observation. This apprenticeship creates knowledge transmission while ensuring that complex skills are accurately passed between generations. The memory development that enables Quipu mastery involves systematic training techniques that enhance human recall capabilities, while creating mental databases that can store and cross-reference enormous amounts of detailed information. This memory training requires psychological conditioning while enabling intellectual achievements that seem superhuman to untrained observers. The mathematical instruction that prepares Quipu keepers involves advanced understanding of numerical relationships and computational techniques, while developing analytical capabilities that enable complex statistical work. This mathematical education requires intellectual capability while providing tools for governmental and economic analysis. The cultural education that contextualizes Quipu information involves understanding historical, religious, and social frameworks that give meaning to statistical data while enabling interpretation that serves broader imperial goals. This cultural knowledge requires scholarly understanding while providing interpretive frameworks for administrative information. The language training that enables Quipu interpretation involves mastering multiple regional languages while understanding cultural variations that affect information meaning across different ethnic groups within the empire. This linguistic capability requires intellectual flexibility while enabling communication across diverse populations. The administrative knowledge that supports Quipu interpretation involves understanding governmental structures, legal frameworks, and bureaucratic procedures while enabling information analysis that serves imperial administrative needs. This administrative understanding requires political knowledge while providing context for statistical information. The security protocols that protect Quipu information involve restricted access, supervised interpretation, and physical protection of records while preventing unauthorized disclosure of state secrets that could threaten imperial security. These protocols create information control while ensuring that sensitive data remains available for authorized governmental use. The imperial oversight that monitors Quipu keepers involves surveillance systems and loyalty testing, while ensuring that information specialists remain reliable, despite their access to potentially dangerous state secrets. This oversight affects personal freedom while being considered necessary for maintaining information security. The access restrictions that limit Quipu interpretation involve hierarchical permissions and compartmentalized knowledge, while preventing individual specialists from accessing information beyond their authorized responsibilities. These restrictions create information security while limiting individual knowledge that could threaten imperial authority. The verification procedures that ensure data accuracy involve cross-checking between multiple Quipu records while establishing accountability systems that detect errors or falsification. These procedures create quality control while establishing responsibility for information accuracy that affects imperial decision-making. The loyalty testing that evaluates Quipu keeper reliability involves assessment of political commitment and personal integrity, while ensuring that information specialists remain trustworthy despite pressure that might motivate betrayal or sabotage. This testing affects career advancement while being essential for maintaining information security. The punishment systems that enforce information security involve severe penalties for unauthorized disclosure, while creating deterrents that discourage betrayal of state secrets. These punishment systems affect personal risk while being considered necessary for protecting information that could threaten imperial stability. The isolation protocols that protect sensitive information involve restricting social contact and monitoring personal relationships while preventing information leakage through informal communication. These protocols affect personal life while being considered essential for maintaining information security. The political dangers that Quipu masters face involve access to information that could threaten powerful individuals, while creating vulnerability to political intrigue and factional conflicts within imperial administration. This political exposure affects personal security while being an inevitable consequence of possessing strategically important knowledge. The conspiracy risks that affect information specialists involve potential involvement in plots against imperial authority, while creating exposure to accusations of treason regardless of actual political loyalty. These risks affect personal safety while being enhanced by access to information that could support rebellious activities. The factional conflicts that endanger Quipu keepers involve competing political groups that might seek to control or eliminate information specialists while using their knowledge for partisan advantage. These conflicts affect career survival, while creating pressure for political alignment that conflicts with professional objectivity. The succession crises that threaten information continuity involve political instability that could eliminate Quipu specialists while destroying institutional knowledge that enables governmental functions. These crises affect professional survival while threatening loss of information systems that support imperial administration. The regional rebellions that could target record keepers involve recognition that Quipu masters possess information necessary for imperial control, while making them targets for elimination by groups seeking independence from central authority. These rebellions affect personal safety while highlighting political significance of information control. The foreign invasion threats that endanger Quipu systems involve recognition by Spanish conquistadors that destroying information infrastructure would handicap imperial resistance while making record keepers targets for elimination or forced cooperation. These threats affect cultural survival while highlighting strategic importance of information systems. The information warfare that utilizes Quipu knowledge involves using administrative data to support military and political objectives, while recognizing that information control provides strategic advantages in conflicts between competing authorities. This warfare demonstrates political power of information while creating additional dangers for information specialists. The economic applications that Quipu enable include resource allocation, trade, regulation, and taxation administration, while providing statistical foundations for imperial economic policy. These applications affect imperial prosperity, while requiring accurate information that enables effective economic management. The agricultural coordination that Quipu support involves tracking crop production, managing food distribution, and planning agricultural development, while ensuring that regional resources meet population needs. This coordination prevents famine while requiring detailed information about agricultural capabilities and population requirements. The labor organization that Quipu enable involves managing workforce allocation, coordinating public works projects, and administering mandatory service obligations, while ensuring that imperial projects receive adequate human resources. This organization enables major construction while requiring detailed information about population capabilities and project requirements. The military logistics that Quipu support involve managing troop movements, coordinating supply systems, and planning military campaigns, while ensuring that armed forces receive adequate resources for effective operations. This logistics capability enables imperial expansion while requiring accurate information about military capabilities and resource availability. The trade regulation that Quipu enable involves managing commercial relationships, controlling resource distribution, and administering economic policies while ensuring that imperial trade serves governmental objectives. This regulation affects economic development while requiring detailed information about commercial activities and resource flows. The taxation administration that Quipu support involves assessing economic obligations, managing revenue collection and coordinating fiscal policy while ensuring that imperial finances support governmental functions. This administration enables imperial operations while requiring accurate information about economic capabilities and tax obligations. The population management that QUIPU enable involves tracking demographic changes, coordinating settlement policies, and managing ethnic relationships, while ensuring that imperial administration adapts to changing social conditions. This management enables social control while requiring detailed information about population characteristics and social dynamics. The cultural preservation that QUIPU represent involves maintaining information systems that encode indigenous knowledge while preserving intellectual achievements that demonstrate sophisticated understanding of mathematics, administration, and information science. The technological innovation that QUIPU demonstrate includes encoding techniques, mathematical applications, and information organization methods, while showing human capability for creating sophisticated data systems using available materials and cultural knowledge. The administrative achievement that QUIPU enable involves governmental coordination across vast territories and diverse populations, while demonstrating organizational capabilities that enable effective imperial administration without written language systems. The mathematical sophistication that QUIPU reveal includes numerical notation, statistical analysis, and computational techniques, while showing mathematical understanding that equals or exceeds contemporary civilizations with different technological approaches. The intellectual capacity that QUIPU masters demonstrate involves memory capabilities, analytical skills, and cultural knowledge, while showing human potential for information management that exceeds normal cognitive capabilities through specialized training and cultural support. The social organization that QUIPU systems require involves educational institutions, professional hierarchies, and administrative structures, while demonstrating social complexity that enables sophisticated governmental functions through specialized knowledge and institutional support. The destruction of QUIPU systems that accompanies Spanish conquest involves systematic elimination of indigenous information infrastructure, while demonstrating colonial recognition that information control provides political power, and that destroying native record systems handicaps resistance to foreign domination. The Spanish suppression that eliminates QUIPU knowledge involves forbidding indigenous record keeping, while replacing native information systems with European administrative methods that eliminate traditional knowledge and reduce indigenous political capability. The cultural genocide that targets QUIPU masters involves killing or forcibly converting information specialists, while eliminating human resources necessary for maintaining traditional knowledge systems that support indigenous political and cultural autonomy. The knowledge loss that results from QUIPU destruction involves permanent elimination of information systems that contained historical, statistical, and cultural data, while representing irreplaceable intellectual achievements of indigenous civilization. The modern reconstruction efforts that attempt to understand QUIPU systems involve archaeological research, mathematical analysis, and cultural interpretation, while trying to recover knowledge that was systematically destroyed during colonial period. Understanding INCA QUIPU record keeping helps modern people appreciate both the sophisticated information management possible through systematic use of available materials and cultural knowledge, and the political power that information control provides to those who master complex data systems. The legacy of QUIPU systems includes not just surviving examples that puzzle modern researchers, but also demonstration of human potential for creating sophisticated information technologies using materials and methods that differ dramatically from contemporary approaches, while achieving governmental coordination that enabled effective administration of vast territories and diverse populations. Conclusion. From the suffocating darkness of Egyptian tombs to the intricate knots of Inca record, keeping these four journeys reveal how the pursuit of treasure, beauty, enlightenment, and knowledge has always demanded prices that most people would consider unacceptable. The tomb robbers who risked horrible death plundering sacred burials remind us that desperation can transform protectors into predators, while their intimate knowledge of the very systems they violated demonstrates how expertise can become a tool for destruction when economic collapse eliminates legitimate opportunities. Their story shows how even the most sacred spaces become vulnerable when those entrusted with their protection lose faith in the system they're meant to serve. The manuscript illuminators who slowly poisoned themselves creating beautiful books revealed how the pursuit of perfect beauty could consume entire lifetimes while systematically destroying the vision and health of those who created it. Their sacrifice transformed animal skins into spiritual art through processes that valued eternal beauty over temporary human welfare, demonstrating how artistic achievement often requires accepting permanent disability as the price of creating lasting beauty. The Japanese ink painting masters who risked madness pursuing artistic enlightenment showed how the highest forms of creative expression might require abandoning everything that makes us human while developing capabilities that transcend normal consciousness. Their training eliminated ego emotion and individual will while replacing them with spiritual emptiness that could channel universal truth through perfect brushstrokes that appeared effortless but demanded lifetimes of preparation. The INCA QUIPU keepers who held life and death power through their ability to read textile records demonstrated how information control provides political authority while creating vulnerability to those who would eliminate inconvenient knowledge. Their mastery of string-based databases gave them access to state secrets that made them simultaneously indispensable and extraordinarily dangerous to imperial administration. These stories share common themes that illuminate enduring aspects of human nature, our willingness to risk everything for goals that transcend immediate survival. Our capacity for developing extraordinary capabilities through systematic training that pushes beyond normal limitations, and our tendency to create systems where knowledge becomes power and power becomes dangerous. Perhaps most importantly, these examples reveal that the treasures, artwork, spiritual achievements, and information systems we admire today were created by people who accepted costs that modern society would consider unacceptable. The gold artifacts in museums represent tomb robbers who died gasping for air in underground chambers. The illuminated manuscripts in libraries embody monks who sacrificed their vision for perfect beauty. The ink paintings that seem effortlessly perfect required masters who meditated themselves beyond normal human consciousness. The administrative records that enabled imperial coordination depended on specialists whose knowledge made them targets for elimination. Their legacy challenges us to appreciate both the remarkable achievements possible through total dedication and the human costs of creating things that outlast the civilizations that produced them. Every ancient treasure, medieval manuscript, traditional artwork, and historical record represents not just human creativity, but human sacrifice on scales that would shock contemporary sensibilities. These historical examples also demonstrate the remarkable human capacity for finding meaning through suffering purpose, through sacrifice, and immortality through temporary lives devoted to eternal goals. The tomb robbers found survival through detailed knowledge of burial practices. The illuminators discovered spiritual purpose through artistic service. The ink painting masters achieved enlightenment through elimination of ego. The Quipu keepers gained political power through mastery of information systems. As we benefit from their sacrifices while enjoying unprecedented safety and comfort, these stories remind us that extraordinary achievements often require extraordinary dedication, that lasting value typically demands temporary suffering, and that the most important human accomplishments usually result from individuals who prioritize goals that transcend their own welfare. Understanding these historical examples helps us recognize both the costs and benefits of pursuing excellence, while appreciating the unprecedented freedom we have to choose our own level of commitment to goals that extend beyond immediate personal concerns. Their sacrifice created foundations that enable our choices while challenging us to consider what we might be willing to risk for achievements that could benefit generations we will never see. The tomb robbers, illuminators, masters, and record keepers who populate these stories all chose to prioritize something larger than themselves while accepting personal costs that most people would find unacceptable. Their examples inspire us to appreciate both human potential for extraordinary achievement and the prices that such achievements have typically required throughout history. In learning their stories, we honor not just their skills, but their sacrifice, while accepting responsibility for using wisely the opportunities their suffering created for us. Their legacy reminds us that being human means living with the tension between individual survival and collective achievement, between temporary comfort and eternal goals between the safety of the known and the risk of the unprecedented, the treasures they sought, the beauty they created, the enlightenment they achieved, and the knowledge they preserved all continue to enrich human civilization, while bearing witness to the remarkable capacity for transcending normal limitations when motivated by purposes that exceed individual concerns. Their example challenges us to consider our own relationship to excellence, while appreciating the extraordinary foundation they built for contemporary life through their willingness to sacrifice everything for goals that outlasted their own lives.